Button has been pressed. Let's see what goes on here. Just remember, what happens on CoCoTALK stays on CoCoTALK. But now, what is this? The stream current bitrate is lower than whatever. Okay. I wonder if I can adjust the bitrate while I'm streaming. I don't remember setting my bitrate that low. Stream.
Is it part of the reinstall, maybe?
Video bitrate 6134. No, that's in there. So my output, I'm not getting. Okay, so this is telling me when I look at OBS, it's telling me I'm outputting 6 kilobits. But when I was looking at first, warning, the stream's current bitrate. This is what YouTube is telling me. YouTube is telling me that the current bitrate is only 135.7 kilobits per second. That is weird. But now I'm trying to see if it's showing up on Restream. Restream is showing it live. Open widget. What does this mean? Open widget. Warning. The stream's current. Was that before? Or is now it says good connection. So maybe that was an initial warning. Okay. So I think we're live. Of course, I can't hear it on the show. Grant Lee says, time to call a computer technician in Florida. Okay, Grant, why don't you join us? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and try to run the intro. Actually, what I'll do is I'll share sound with you. L. Curtis Boyle. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. One of the settings that I did, because I had to reinstall Zoom and everything too, was when I'm sharing sound, it's not asking me how I want to share. So let's see about that. Sharing screen. Sharing, okay. Enable remote, show my Zoom, scale to fit. Somewhere in here should be a message about when you go to share. Because when I went to share before, scale to fit, show my Zoom, enable remote control, side-by-side mode, share all windows from an application, automatically share desktop, show sharing options. There we go. Oh shit, here's fucking Greg. Let's try it again. Let's share screen.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing, Greg?
Oh, I'm sitting back here watching a computer technician pretend to be a computer technician.
All right, that's one way to do it.
How you doing?
Good. Screen 2. Screen 1, you guys are on screen 2. Share system sound. Okay, so I'm trying to share the screen right now. We just got a follower. We got a follower from Haas on Twitch. All right. So, yeah, because I had to redo my OBS after I rebuilt my PC. I haven't streamed yet, so I figured we'll try to, and I also had to reprogram my Stream Deck with all the buttons, and that's still a work in progress. But we're streaming. I'm not sure if anybody can hear us, if we sound good or not. I'm hoping oh shit, I don't see, hold on, what's going on here? Community slideshow.
Oh, you're on Facebook. That's where I saw you.
Sound, Yeti mic. Okay, here we go. I see system sound, and I see Yeti mic sound. Okay, those look like they're sounding. All right, I'm going to try to run the intro.
No. Ah!
CoCoTALK would like to thank the patrons who sponsor our show. So our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Al Hartman, Alan Murphy, Alan Huffman, Amigos Retro Gaming, Blair Ledoux, Brendan Donaghy, Brian Weasler, Karen Anscombe, D. Bruce Moore, Davey Mitchell, Diego, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Vebke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Jason Downs, Jenna Farron, Ken Reichert, Kyle Etter, Malfunct, Michael Pitsley, Rick Hewlin, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Paul Thayer, Rob Inman, Stephen Wagner, Steve Batson, Steve Rasmussen, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tom C., Tom S., Tim Lindner, Tom Heron, and Tony C. Thank you ever so much, patrons.
CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
What the hell's going on with my fire stick, man? This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks, grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock. Hey, what's going on? Happy Friday. We're doing a stream test. Sorry for all the confusion and technical difficulties, but thanks out there for letting us know that we possibly don't suck. Yeah, as I was saying, we're doing a stream test right here on CoCoTALK as OG Stevie Stroh tries to remember how to do what he hasn't done in a while. And so far, he's not doing a really good job, but that's no different than any other time he's done it. CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world. Keeping the tender flame alive. We may be much, but we'll never stop. Because CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world. Alright, and we're here, and we're live, and we're on the air. I am trying to get one of my TVs to come on. I got a little Fire Stick on a TV that I used to watch things on the side with, but that damn thing ain't coming on, and I just don't have time for that shenanigans, hootenanny, what have you. Sloopy Malibu's out there, Great Leady's out there, Tim Franklin, Jaff 172 says sounds good, intro is good, Michael Pitsley, I could hear you just fine. And the intro sounds good too on YouTube. Sloopy Malibu says, woohoo, CoCoTALK is early this week. Yeah, we could do the show now and just take tomorrow
We'll just run it straight through until the end of the show tomorrow, that's all.
Yeah, judging on
even longer than Dragon Talk.
Judging on the past few shows we had, I mean, marathons seem to be our thing now. Cool. I would love to get my freaking TV to work. I don't understand, man. I don't understand why my Fire Stick isn't coming on, man. I just don't understand. It says unknown, and the other one says unknown. I wonder if I need to reboot the Fire Stick. There's all kinds of strange things. Strange things are afoot at the Circle K, Bill and Ted. Pilot, who is Tim Franklin, says happy Friday. We're in the main scene. Let me try going to the full screen. Ooh, full screen. Look at that. Ooh, we are full screen. Maybe you need a real engineer, Sloopy says. Yeah, maybe. Here's the main scene. Here's the full screen. Now you see me. Now you see me more. Now you see me. Now you see me more. All right, and here's the outro. This concludes another episode. All right, so that's the outro right there. We got some segments like the news intro.
From around the world, what you need to know. Get caught up on News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And now a Muppet News Flash.
And take it away with the news, L. Curtis Boyle. Start now, you might be done by the time we start the show tomorrow.
Maybe, just maybe.
All right.
First, we're going to talk about Stevie Stroh playing Joust and dying immediately after completing getting to the 8th wave.
That's, I made it past level 1. All right, so let's
up
try.
to 5.
Let's try core dump intro. That's right. Here's a segment we haven't run in a really long time. Get ready, everybody. You know it. You love it. It's none other
The
CoCoTALK train wreck is over, and we welcome you to the last surviving car. Join us in Zoom for CoCoTALK Caboose, a recap of today's show. CoCoTALK Caboose starts now.
All right, what's muted? What did you say was muted? What scene was actually muted before? You guys could hear the sound.
Yeah, we can hear it here.
Yeah, and
Zoom,
I
yeah.
can hear it on. I can hear it on YouTube.
My voice is not coming through? On
Is it
what
still not
scene?
coming through?
On what scene is my voice not coming through? Because I see it's good now, but on Core Dump, let's take a look at something. Okay, Core Dump has a microphone. Can you guys hear me talking over Core Dump? I'm talking over Core Dump. If you can hear me talking over Core Dump, say, I can hear you talking over Core Dump. Low, but I can hear you, it says. Yes, talking over Core Dump.
Go ahead, Grant. Start talking.
Testing 1, 2, 3. But you know what? It might be a feature that you're muted.
Okay, so now I've just added my microphone to the Core Dump scene. And I'm gonna slide the input volume slider on my thing. Steve is muted, Brian Joyce is saying. We can hear Grant, Sloopy says. Okay, can you guys now hear me?
Hear Steve now.
On the Core Dump scene. This is the Core Dump scene. It's the best scene that I ever seen.
Waiting for the YouTube lag.
All right, this
I
is
know.
the Core
It's
Dump
really
scene.
laggy.
Yeah, I was seeing up to 20 to 30 second lag there.
Yes, I hear Stevie and Curtis is what Sloopy's saying. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the caboose.
The CoCoTALK train
Oh, you
wreck.
don't talk over that one? Okay.
No, I don't talk over that. I don't talk over the caboose intro because it's already pre-recorded. All right, so now we're in the caboose scene. Now we're in the caboose scene. Can you guys hear me in the caboose scene? Because I can see the little VU meter on my microphone, which makes me believe I am working. Testes 1, testes 1, testes 1, 2, testes 1, 2, 3. We hear you in caboose. Thank you, Sloopy. Then we have the Raiders of the Lost CoCo intro. And then I have no microphone here, or do I? Testes 1. Okay, so now we're in the Raiders of the Lost CoCo scene, which is a new segment starring President Dick Adams. I see my microphone moving. So if you guys can hear me talking, you guys talk too.
Go ahead, Grant, talk.
What? You can't talk, Curtis? You usually can't keep your
No,
mouth
I'm
closed.
kind of
for more
working
than
at
10
the same time here, so I'm a bit distracted on the talking thing.
All right, so we got a vote for yes for Raiders. Okay. And then now we have the assembly language intro. Curtis and Grant both good. Okay.
No.
Oh, that's wrong. Okay, this one is wrong. I gotta fix that.
CoCoTALK would like to thank the patrons who sponsor our show. So our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Al Hartman, Alan
What
Murphy,
red light? Oh, it's from
Alan
my
Huffman,
mic. Oh, I have
Amigos
a,
Retro
this is
Game,
weird.
Blair Ledoux,
Raiders of the Lost
Brendan
CoCo.
Donahue, Brian Weisler, Karen
what's in the
Anscombe,
Raiders of the
D.
Lost
Bruce
CoCo
Moore,
scene?
Davey Mitchell, Diego, Eric Canales,
I'm confused.
Glenn Hewlett, Graham.
This is Raiders intro. This is Raiders scene. Okay. So now I'm on. Okay, ASM intro is wrong. That's what I have to fix. Hold on.
CoCoTALK would like to thank the patrons who sponsor our.
then this is the assembly scene. ASM with George J. Okay, so we have all those scenes worked out. And hopefully my microphone is working. Microphone check. Chickadee check. Chickadee check 1. Chickadee check 2. Wiggity wiggy wiggy wiggity wiggy 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 wiggity whack. Okay, it's looking like my microphone's coming out on the assembly series. So those are my segments. And then we have our Game On segment. We have like our Samuel Gimes.
And now, Coco Thoughts.
I kicked a rock
by Samuel Gimes.
I jumped fire.
You forgot the auto-tune plugin.
Then we have this one. Good evening, everybody. It's time for a Game On segment where we talk about games that are on, because if a game is off, it's really hard to play.
High Score Challenge.
Back.
All right, welcome to this week's results. This week we played Ninja Warrior with 15 scores submitted. Mr. Dave won.
And then we have the normal Game On segment where we talk about the game that we are talking about. And then if Buck Owens does a good job, we'll press this button right here.
CoCoTALK salutes Buck Owens.
All right, and then we got that. And then other than that, I got a shit ton of commercials, which we'll just run through real quick. This is the welcome the CoCo Discord, CoCo 123 World Map commercial.
Hi, this is Eddie Zerbinski from beautiful Quebec City. Vous écoutez CoCoTALK.
We'll return after these announcements.
What's going on, everybody? The original gamer Stevie Stroh here, and I want to talk to you about I'mACoconut.com. If you love the color computer...
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Bruce Moore, and this is... Jacob Moore, gotcha. And we are the Forest of Doom guys, and the Coco Forever guys, and we are Coco Fest, and we love Stevie Stroh.
Imagine. We'll return after these messages.
My fellow Americans, Australians, Canadians, Europeans, and all of you ands, I'm calling on all y'all to help us make the world great again by visiting the Retro Swag Shop at 8bit256.com, where you can get yourself...
And now these messages. It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas.
This year, I needed to give a real family pleaser.
Honey, please help me with this budget.
We will return after these messages.
CoCoTALK is brought to you in part by Placeblex Dietary Supplement. Placeblex. We think it works, so will you.
It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas.
Oh, I remember that.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Fletcher, I don't need that report tomorrow.
Great, JT.
I need it tonight.
CoCoTALK will return after these messages.
And now this message.
Hi, it's Chris Boyle, part of the CoCoTALK crew of people.
Hey everybody, this is Bill Noble, co-author of Nitrous 9. You are listening to CoCoTALK Live, the leading live CoCoTALK show.
Good day, mates.
We will return after these messages.
Here's a hi-fi bargain from your nearby Radio Shack store. Say, after these messages,
we'll be right back.
The Bakers. Now, they like a family present. Let's see now. Tandy's color computer system with its own carry-home pack. That's a family affair.
Wow, Dad.
And now these messages.
Hello, I'm David Ladd. Thank you for watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading live CoCoTALK show.
Good day. This is Nick Marionettes. Crikey. After you buy Gunstar...
Stop right there.
Oh.
We'll return after these messages.
Here's a hi-fi bargain from your nearby Radio Shack store. Save $100 on our exclusive realistic 77 AM/FM stereo receiver. Only $159.95 during this sale. With audio component features like... After these messages...
We'll be right back.
The Bakers. Now they like a family present. Let's see.
And now these messages.
Hello, I'm David Ladd. Thank you for watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading live CoCoTALK show.
Good night. This is Nick
And now these messages.
Hello, I'm David Ladd. Thank you for watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading live CoCoTALK show.
Good night. This is Nick Marionettes. Crikey. After you buy Gunstar...
Stop right there.
Okay, fine. After you bought Gunstar, go ahead and buy your copy of the CoCo Fest edition of
Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway.
It's a quarter of the quality at half the cost.
ESP 8266-01 RS232 TTL Wi-Fi network 4-pin DIN Fitbanger DB9 PC IP DriveWire
This portion of CoCoTALK brought to you by Placeblex Dietary Supplement. Placeblex, thought to help you with your floppy life.
In a world where hard drives rule and floppies are superfluous, one man, one legend, one old fart dared to learn the floppy and took the brunt of jokes. Then all hard drives and SSDs died, but the floppy survived. And the only man who knew floppies became a legend once more. Floppy Life, the David Ladd story. This summer, straight to YouTube.
We'll return
after these messages.
And now these messages.
Hello, I'm David Ladd. Thank you for watching.
Here's a hi-fi bargain from your nearby Radio Shack store. Save $100 on our exclusive realistic 77 AM/FM stereo receiver. Only $100.
Okay, so yeah, the commercial breaks I had to get sorted out. Certainly no shortage of commercial breaks.
We need to redo that one with Boomerang.
Probably. Since that's...
Yeah, we need to get rid of one, that Bill Clinton one, too.
Well, we're welcome to replace it with one of your commercials, Grant.
We could do a live stream.
Okay, yeah, like I'm trying to reprogram my Stream Deck because I forgot to back it up, Mark, and so I'm trying to like get everything, and what a nightmare that is.
That's what I was thinking of. How much does it cost to get a Stream Deck? Are those expensive?
Not terribly. I think
when you
the 32 button one is like $260. The 15 button one is like $160. So it's not terrible, but it's. I mean, the hardest part now is like because I didn't back it up. I had everything. I had all my buttons set how it was like muscle memory. I know where to go and what to press. Now I'm trying to remember everything, and it's just. And there's 12 different commercial breaks trying to get all those things sorted out properly. I mean, I got enough to do the show, and I don't want to futz with Stream Deck anymore tonight, but like a sound, the soundboard and stuff like that need to be thrown in there. But I have the intro, I have the outro, I have the main, I have the segments, I have the commercial breaks, I have the game on stuff. That's enough to do the show. So, excuse me, I'm yawning. So if anybody's still out there live, if you could just let us know. Rest of the panel talk.
Hello, everyone.
Yep. I don't know if I'm working.
Well, I can hear you, but not see you.
Yeah, it looks like my Zoom barfed.
And I got to figure out why my Fire Stick's not showing up on my TV now. Okay. So, right now I'm not dropping any frames. I'm streaming at the straight up 6 megawatts. And, John Lauer just joined us. Hey, John Lauer.
Oh, that's what's going on. Twitch and Zoom and Discord are fighting for the camera.
You gotta fight for your right. Scott Cooper says we hear you all. All right, so I guess the plan A will be that I will try to stream tomorrow, Mark B. But as always, if I can have my one or both of my backups,
I will be on the show tomorrow. So
standing by.
And Mark, you said you're not sure you might be working tomorrow or something?
No, I'm while preparing for a trip. I'm next week. I'm going to California, so next Saturday I will not be on.
I thought you said you were not going to California for nothing in the world.
Well, I got told I got to go.
Okay. Everybody has their price. And here, I'll just run it. I don't have a button for it, but I'll run the Glenn Dahlgren promo because that's our guest tomorrow. Let's go ahead and run the Glenn Dahlgren promo.
Hi, my name is Glenn Dahlgren. You may know me from a few things that I've done in my past. Let's see if we can figure it out. Maybe it's the PC games that I've done, like Unreal 2 or Wheel of Time. But maybe not. It might be because of the books that I've written, Child of Chaos. I have another one coming up called Game of War. That's going to be released very shortly. But it's probably not that. I think I know what you might know me from. And that is my CoCo games. Because I ran Sundog Systems for a while in the heyday of the CoCo. Can you believe I got this framed? That's how much of an important piece of my life Sundog Systems was. And I'm going to be on CoCoTALK on Saturday, August 28th from 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or 2 p.m. Eastern. So feel free to come and chat, ask me anything you want, or tell me anything you want about the games that I made, or anything. I will see you then.
The whole time. It sucks.
Yeah, well, a lot of us look better wearing masks anyways.
Yeah,
we all look like ninjas. That's the whole
ninja. Yes. So, anybody out there
that is
who
true.
happens
the masks do hide the ugly people.
Yeah, no shit. So what was I gonna say?
What?
Oh, I was just saying that masks do hide the ugly people. I mentioned you.
I use a mask on the show, but that's usually to cover up Stevie's picture on the screen, so I just figure out where he's going to be, and I just cover it up.
Wow. Still the love of the night.
And Grant, I just mute because who the hell wants to listen to him talk anyway?
Yes. So during that spot, we were talking about VCF Midwest. Ooh. September 11th and 12th. And yeah, I don't know if I can manage a last minute flight, but we'll see.
Yeah, because that cost a fortune, won't it?
Well,
when is the VCF Midwest, just out of curiosity?
It's September 11th and 12th. 9,
yeah,
11,
so 2 weeks.
12.
2 weeks.
I have a flight in the bank. So because CoCo Fest got canceled last year, so I have one flight in the bank that I could use, and I'm trying to figure out, do I want to use it for VCF, do I want to use it for CoCo Fest, and but I also wanted to drive to one of these events too. So maybe I use the flight for VCF. I just have a quick getaway. I do some snuggling with Grant, and then
Jesus.
And then I do the road trip.
So Mark, are you on the 11th to host then? Because that means 2 of the hosts will be going.
When's the 11th?
It's the day after the 10th.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going. It's a big maybe.
11th, I should be back in town. Trying to remember my calendar here. So, yeah, I should be back in town for the 11th.
Cool.
Okay. Because we do have interviews on that week too. So.
Okay. Yeah, that will be a big show because we'll have to do the BCF.
Yeah, we'll have to walk around and show everything.
Yeah, I'm traveling Thursday and Friday of that week, 9th and 10th. So 11th I should be back.
So we did some test calls tonight. We won't mention any names, but we have some great interviews coming up. We did some Zoom tests, some AV tests, and I've recorded a few promo reels that we'll try to air on the show tomorrow to tease some future guests that are coming up. One of the guests still is Glenn Hewlett to talk about the Joust transcode.
That one's been delayed a week.
He's been moved a week out, which opens up a slot for Brian Weasler because he's got an incredible haul of goodies to talk about. And then we've got, oh my goodness, I need to stop yawning. And then we have a lot of guests lined up, which is exciting.
Yeah, we're solidly booked through September 25th inclusive at this point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very exciting. And who the hell knows what else is going to happen. So
we've got an MC10 special in the planning stages.
In the works.
We've got a Dragon Talk Part 2 special.
Yeah, so the Dragon Talk was really a warm-up. That was the opening act for the MC10 special. That is going to be huge. We're talking about
that one's going to be at least 8 hours.
96 hours of nonstop MC10. We will be raising money for cripple kids while we're doing that. And Grant,
including the ones that get carpal tunnel from trying to type on the MC10 keyboard. But.
Yeah. Please raise money for all the people with claw hands for trying to use that damn MC10 keyboard. So yeah, MC10 special coming up. When do we get to the 6502 special? That's what I'm wondering about.
Let me look at the bottom of my trash here.
When hell freezes over.
I don't see it there. Apparently, we're not.
We're having Dragon Talk 2.0, right?
Yeah. I haven't got dates yet for Dragon Talk 2 or MC10 because that's at least October or later. And I'm still trying to line up guests and who's available when. We'll have to figure out what dates work best for me.
Let's not forget the pants optional episode that's coming up too. That's going to be a big hit.
Isn't that all the shows? Damn it, I've been doing wrong.
Let's hope these cameras don't pan down.
Curtis will be
here's the teaser for that. No, I'm just kidding.
John Lauer says Curtis will be announcing OS 3 for the MC10. Right. But yeah, we'll have Glenn on to talk about Joust.
And Glenn may have another game announcement then if we're lucky. We'll have to see how
we
things
have
go
something
for him.
else to tease. And who knows what else. Oh, the Cocoa Pie is now available to the public. So the latest Cocoa Pie image is out there. You can download it now. I have to record a whole bunch of new tutorial videos on it because it's a whole new thing. It's got a GUI, and I'm gonna be doing like a half a dozen different videos, short videos covering just different steps instead of one big long video. I wanted to do that tonight, but it's kind of ran out of time, and probably won't have time to do that before the show tomorrow. But we'll just talk about it on the show.
We'll tease it.
And
coming soon.
Yeah, we'll get that going.
Is that for you said Cocoa Pie? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the official Cocoa Pie image is now on the website. I rebooted the website, moved it to a new host. We got a new image you can download from the site. We got some basic instructions up there, but I need to record some videos.
So I finally got a project done that I've been putting off for years. I took the only officially licensed Star Trek game for the CoCo by Adventure International, and I fixed it up so it actually works properly on disk. I submitted to the archive yesterday, so William should have that up probably this weekend sometime.
Is that an RS-DOS one?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Hey, Kevin Holloway, how are you?
Cool.
Karen's working on a conversion for the Dragon, too. I'll mention that.
I'll get my Cocoa Pie up and running then tomorrow morning.
So there's been an interesting line of discussions that just started taking place on Facebook, starting in the CoCo channel, and then it spilled over to the Cocoa Pie channel. But I don't remember the person's name. But he was I think he might be new to the Facebook group. But he's like, did you ever think of what would happen if the CoCo still was being made, and what it would have turned into if they didn't stop making it? Which almost, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, wait, isn't this CoCo Forever? Didn't D. Bruce Moore already do this in a 12-part miniseries? But he was starting to ask the question. Yeah, it's an interesting question, and then interesting thought experiment, should we say? And then it kind of spilled over to the Cocoa Pie channel on Facebook, where it's like, well, now that you have this emulator, well, can you do this, and can you do that, and can we make it do this, and can we make it do that? And it's like, well, you're kind of missing the point. The Cocoa Pie is just meant to emulate what it's like using a real Cocoa. So it's not meant to be like what do they call those things? The retro pies and emulation stations, where you kind of move around a gallery and you pick a game and you press a button and it loads. It's not exactly like that. Although I think Aaron did something like that. I think Aaron from the Amigos actually did something like that. But the Cocoa Pie is meant to recreate the experience of using a real Cocoa. You boot up to an OK prompt, and you have to insert a virtual floppy or insert a cartridge and use the fake Cocoa like you'd use a real Cocoa. That's what
it's a one-stop emulation shop, is what it is.
But it's not
Dragon MC10 Cocoa.
Yeah, but it's not meant to be a game carousel front end loader type experience. And then it started getting into discussions on, well, could we emulate a new CoCo 4? And this is just like, that's when my head just wants to explode. But it's like, and I
that's an ongoing discussion every 3 to 4 years. It goes down a rabbit hole every time.
Yeah, I haven't been around long enough I know the people who've been around forever. The word CoCo 4 is a bad word. Right. How many letters? CoCo. That's already 4, 5. But yeah, CoCo 4 is like a 4-letter word almost, right? But because I guess whatever, I don't know what happened in the past. But when you think about it now, I just think if you were to make a quote unquote new CoCo, and we're kind of already in that gray area with things like the Gimme X and the CoCo VGA, but if you were to make a new CoCo, this is just kind of my opinion. We were talking about this on Discord today too when I was driving around. Like, I just don't think you could make a whole new CoCo that's not backwards compatible. I just don't think it would work, because at that point it's not.
No, we tried that back in the early '90s when the TC70, the MM1, the System 4 and 5 from Delmar, even the TC9, which is mostly CoCo compatible. That's what they tried. That was all called the CoCo 4 back then, and none of them made it. So
yeah. So I just don't think you could. Hey, Mr. Dave is out there. Scott Cooper's out there. Jaff 172's out there. Hey guys, I just don't think you could make a quote unquote new CoCo that was all new and had no backwards compatibility. John Lauer says I want a CoCo Book Pro, right? So I don't know. I'm speaking for myself for sure, but I think a lot of the CoCo hobbyists who aren't. There's the niche hobbyists. So there's the people who like the CoCo 3 FPGA that Gary Becker has made. And that's very hardware-ish. And it's mostly compatible-ish, but it's not completely compatible. So the whole community around that CoCo 3 FPGA, they kind of signed up for a project. Yeah, we know this is new and we know this is better, but it's not 100% compatible.
Same as the Matchbox CoCo and a few others. I mean, there's a lot of these FPGA ones. They run faster. Like if you want a more faster machine, they run at 12.5 or 25 megahertz, etc. And that's probably the closest you'll get to a CoCo 4 right now. But I mean, the problem is a CoCo 4 means different things to different people. Some people it's a software. Some people it's like, can I hardware tinker and add stuff like I did on the old CoCos type thing? Like it depends what your viewpoint is, and you're not going to satisfy everyone. I think a lot of this talk has come up because we've seen stuff recently like the Commander 16, which is the 8-bit guy's 8 megahertz C64 clone, which has its own extra hardware and
but it's not a clone though, because we had them.
No, it's not. It's kind of an extension of, but I don't know how huge. I mean, the Commodore market's huge to begin with.
It's not going to run any old software, and you have to write new software for it. It's a completely new thing.
Yeah, and that was the same problem we had with the MM1, the TC70, etc.
Yeah, and so I just don't think that would take off, because I think we already have a problem now with our current CoCo hardware. We don't have a lot of support for sound cards. So when it comes to new hardware, and this is just adding new hardware to the same system, there's already a lack of adaptation there. If you create a whole new system that everything has to be written from scratch and built from the ground up, to me, that's a recipe for failure, because nobody's going to do that. Nobody is. You know, unless
you can make some sort of generic software that other people can run to do it from their own programs.
Yeah. So in my opinion, anything new they released, if you had new features, great. But if it's not 100% hardware compatible with cartridges and DIN pin connectors like your joysticks and your bit bangers, and if it wasn't backwards compatible, then I don't think it would be a success. It would be a hobby thing that would have a very limited market. Yeah. So
one exception possibly might be the Super Sprite Plus board from John Whitmore, because Paris Surratt has actually, ported that whole AGD engine. So you instantly, well, not instantly, but he's already got like a half a dozen to a dozen games done for it. And his plan is to finish all 200 and whatever. That's a large enough software base you might get away with encouraging people together.
But not being compatible? Not having.
Well, no, it's still compatible because you can still run your old stuff too.
Like I say, I would be in favor for anything new that added new features, but it would, for me, it would have to be 100% backwards compatible. Yeah. Like I wouldn't buy like a CoCo 3 FPGA that was 90% compatible ish. I wouldn't buy something that was a new CoCo like thing, but you had to run some fork of Nitrous 9 for it to even work. Like it wouldn't run RS-DOS at all, and you wouldn't run the old software. That would not appeal to me. And I'm not saying I'm the gatekeeper of what should happen and what people should think or buy, but for me as a consumer, I wouldn't buy any obscure niche CoCo-like product that wasn't fully compatible.
Yeah, and like I said, it depends. Some people are in for the hardware, some are in for the software, some are in for collecting, and then making a new one isn't a collectible.
No, but put it this way. Let's say you wanted to have a real hardware machine, but you didn't care what it looked like. You didn't care if it fit in the same case. You just wanted real hardware that you could plug a cartridge into and get up in CoCo, right? Like the Ed Snyder CoCo 2 board that doesn't fit in the CoCo case. It's not meant to be a motherboard replacement. It's just a small mini ATX size motherboard that is a CoCo 2. I wouldn't have a problem buying something like that if it was real hardware and it was 100% compatible with at least the joystick ports and the cartridge port. I could live without the bit banger, honestly, myself. I could live without the cassette port and the modem port as long as I had two joystick ports and a cartridge, and it was 100% compatible. I wouldn't care what it looked like, what box. If it came in a cardboard box, I wouldn't care. I would be completely okay with that. I'd be okay with a new Ed Snyder CoCo 3 that didn't fit in the case, that worked, and it had new features, but still 100% compatible, What is Alan Huffman saying? Use the model of the Atari VCF and a television Amico, both completely different, but do not run any original software except through emulation. But we can already emulate. Why buy something new to emulate? I don't know. But that's just
because everybody's Mac or PC or Linux box is capable of doing that already.
But so there are new, like the new Intellivision system can run the old library as emulated, right? David says the cassette port is useless, right? So
not quite. That audio on, like we've seen some of the educational stuff. Yeah, if you're into that kind of stuff, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because at that point it wouldn't be 100% compatible, right? If you wanted to run a cassette library that had audio tracks, it wouldn't be 100% compatible, right? So
yeah, you'd need some sort of audio. Bingo, Alan. That's why I have no plans of buying one.
Right. So yeah, no, it's interesting. It's an interesting thought experiment. What could a new CoCo be? What would a CoCo have been if it wasn't, if it...
Yeah, the have been aspect is the part that I found interesting. Like, where could it have gone if certain things were known at the time? But as far as a new one, I think it's beyond that point where it's going to be a major thing even within the CoCo community. You get a very big split between people that just are fine with emulation. People already have the hardware existing and they don't want to go beyond that. Other people are hardware tinkerers and will add on stuff for their own use. So it can be some commercial product, and then software tinkerers. So it depends what part of the market you're trying to shoot for. But to me, the discussion was much more interesting in the fact of where could it have gone if certain things were done by Tandy, like why did Tandy do that type thing.
Right. So here's a good example. When the PlayStation 2 came out, it was hardware compatible with the PlayStation 1. It actually used the PlayStation 1 CPU to control the DVD player or whatever it was, you know what I mean? So, but the benefit of that was that it was completely, backwards compatible. Same thing with the Sega Genesis. The Sega Genesis still had the Z80 processor that was in the
Master System?
What was in the previous Sega system?
Wasn't it the Master?
Sega Master System, right? So the Sega Genesis had the same core chip of the Sega Master System. So by design, it was backwards compatible, and they made an adapter cartridge for it. So in the PlayStation 2, the original one could play PlayStation 1 games because it used the PS1 processor to drive the optical drive. So if you created a new CoCo 4, 5, CoCo 2025 machine, if it had a 68X whatever processor, but it still had a 6809, and it used that 6809 to like bootstrap in the OSK whatever, but you could still as a side effect run RS-DOS on there, that would be kind of cool. That you had something new for the people who wanted to use the new, but as long as the old was still there,
What do you think of Alan's comment there, Stevie? The last one.
Why buy an arcade 1-up or At Games Arcade when you can play them on your PC? Yeah, I don't, but that's me. Yeah, I don't buy those things because I think those are just overpriced toys. But there is a market for that. For me, the arcade 1-up is for one of two people. For people who don't know how to do an emulator, or people who just have a lot of money and figure I want this because it's cool. To me, I don't make enough money to buy those things because I don't need them. But there's people who know how to do emulators and they'll buy them anyways because they think it's cool. And I'm not going to deny it. It's kind of cool, but it's for me to spend $300 on a 3/4 size cabinet that plays 5 games. That's not a sound choice for me to make. And yeah, I know you can hack them and run all kinds of stuff on them, but I just look at that as not enough and too much, not enough hardware and too much money.
Yeah, to be honest, the Amiga community that I've been discussing on the Amigos the last couple of weeks, there's a new Amiga hardware thing that the exact same discussion's going on. Like, you really need that if you can either emulate or already have original hardware,
and again,
or you want to buy this new thing.
I'm only sharing my opinion. I'm not the gatekeeper of free thought and free will and what people want to do. I have very clear ideas. Actually, there's another one too. Is it the I'm getting the at? You know what I'm getting confused with? I'm getting confused with Arcade 1-up. No, the At Games Arcade Ultimate Arcade Experience. That one that's about $500, but it's a full size cabinet. I actually like that one. I think that's pretty cool, and I think that it gives you a fair balance of bang for your buck and size and quality. But then I'm back to the same point where even though I can emulate that, I would like to have it. I can't afford it, and I got no room to put it anywhere. But in a perfect world, I would have one just because. So I would definitely not knock that product. Yeah.
And it depends too. I mean, some people in the CoCo community, because we're a bit more famous for having tinkers and stuff, aren't that interested in the games. Like, that wouldn't interest some of the CoCo community at all. If it plays games and nothing but, like, whatever.
Well, again, and this is just me thinking, but so to get back to Alan's question, so what if there was a new CoCo whatever, right? We won't call it a CoCo 4, but there's the next CoCo, and it's completely hardware incompatible, but it can 100% emulate everything, which is getting back to that Amico question. Would that be a bad thing?
I wouldn't say it would be bad, but I mean, do I have room on my, on my desks and stuff here to have two, one dedicated to emulating a CoCo, or I could just run it on my current PC? That's
when it comes to
and it depends on the person. I mean, if you have an area in your basement or something that's set up as an arcade with a bunch of other things.
CoCo Man's calling me on my cell phone. What the hell does he want?
Who cares? Just hang up on
CoCo Man. Oh, it's Sarah. CoCo lady. Well, I'm glad you guys called, but we're actually doing a live stream. I wasn't sure if you were watching, you were calling in to critique what we were doing or something. You want me to call you back in a little bit? How long are you guys going to be on the road?
It's a call-in show now.
Yeah. Except we can't hear the caller.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'll call you back in a little bit.
It's the one-sided conversation show now.
Bye, Sarah. No, they wanted to talk shit about Grant Leedy. I said I can't do that right now because we're on the air with him. So.
I thought it was your nightly phone sex or something.
Jason and Sarah are heading somewhere. It was random that they called. I said, I wonder if were you guys watching the stream and just trying to critique? And it's like, no, we didn't even know you were streaming.
Alan's question here too: how many of us would buy a replica CoCo like the C64, etc.? That if they came out with one replica keyboard, etc.
Yeah, then that's getting into the kind of retro Pi 400 thing too. Would I buy that? Well, I have a C64 Mini. Somebody gave it to me. I don't know that I would have bought a C64 Mini because I never owned a Commodore. But would I buy a CoCo Mini? If they made one, probably, because I'm a fan of the CoCo. So I probably would, even though I know it would be a complete extravagance. That I could do it in a CoCo Pi. I could do it in a million other ways. I've got a dozen real CoCos, but yeah, I think I would buy a CoCo Mini, especially if it had a real working keyboard and it had like a USB port or supported Wi-Fi or USB. I think I would do that. And then the question is, why have a CoCo at all if you have a PC? Well, is this a rhetorical? Okay, I'm going red. So I'm losing my bit rate right now. I'm losing my bit rate. I'm going down to 1 megabit. So
I was having that trouble last week. You went to 0.
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
and you locked up on Twitter.
I am going.
Which mean?
So I was looking. I was having a little bit of trouble myself with this during the last stream, and I was monitoring my router.
Yeah.
And even though I'm uploading a 6 megabit, I was getting saturated and peaking at 10. So I'm thinking of dropping the output stream down, say maybe to 4 or something.
I'm going to do that right now.
Because I see sometimes it would get 7, 8 megabits uploading.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just compression or something or what.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're still live. If you're out there, if we're still live, let us know.
Yeah,
now I'm going yellow.
Yeah,
now I'm going
we're on
green.
Twitch still.
Okay.
And you're on YouTube.
So I just lowered the bandwidth down to 4 megabits because we lost bandwidth there for a little bit. So number one, this is not our normal show. I don't know, this would have been a normal topic, and this is probably me sounding like a pompous ass because we're just talking out loud here. So I'm definitely explaining things from my own selfish, narrow-minded point of view. I am not trying to condone thought or tell people what's right or wrong or what they should do or what's right for them.
And I think that's the point. It's going to be different for each individual.
Yeah, different strokes for different folks. So
focuses. Yeah.
So one of Alan's earlier questions is, why have a real CoCo at all if you can emulate it? Well, for me, that answer is the nostalgia of I used to have one. I'd like to have one again, and they are fun to play with.
And I do know some developers in specific, and I won't mention them by name, but they actually do not want the real CoCo again, except maybe to test stuff. That's the only thing they use it for. They much prefer running the emulators.
So the conversation is steered in a lot of different directions. Like if you were to build a new CoCo floor, what would make that successful? And I gave my opinion on that, but this is my opinion. I'm not everybody. There might be somebody else that would say, yes, give me a 68,000 CoCo-ish machine tomorrow and I'll start using it in a heartbeat. There's probably people out there who would jump on that and they would find a version of OSK that they could port to it and get it up and running and go to town. So there's probably people who would definitely do that. I am not that person. I want something that's plug and play and low maintenance for me, because I'm just a casual consumer / user. I'm not the build a kernel and tweak a driver kind of person. That doesn't mean I'm right or wrong.
Just different.
So, different ideologies there.
Different strokes for different folks.
But yeah, I like having a real CoCo because it's a collectible. It's nostalgic. The fact you can play with it is cool. Nothing beats the experience of playing on the real hardware. Yeah. So here, I know this is not necessarily after dark, but let's use a sex analogy, right? So real hardware is like having real sex, right? And there's nothing beats the real thing, right? Where emulation is kind of like porn, right? It's a good substitute when you can't have the real thing. It's almost as good. It's something you can do that's quick and convenient, but I'd rather do the real deal on the real hardware. When you
really think you're oversharing again.
Oversharing. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But then it gets to now, like I have the real hardware, but I'm looking at my desk that's nice and clean and clutter free. And
Hey, Stevie.
I like not using the real hardware as much as possible too. So I like having it and I like not using it. Yes, Grant.
How much do you spend on OnlyFans?
On who?
OnlyFans.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Never mind.
Okay, you lost me.
Google it.
No, I'm afraid to now. What is Mr. Dave saying? It's
like
fun.
in my case particularly. I mean, since I do software development, what I like doing is pushing the original hardware to beyond what we did back in the day, because this is stuff it could have been capable of if people knew the skills and had all the experience and stuff over the years. And we've seen that, like when Donkey Kong Transcode came out, it's like nobody had ever even tried to do anything like that before, and then bang, now it's possible. Now we've got multiple transcodes. I mean, that kind of stuff is what excites me about the whole CoCo community thing. It's being able to push the original hardware as far as you can. Whereas, on an emulator, I can just unlock it, and now it's running at 90 megahertz, no big deal. But that doesn't give me the same thrill of making something, back from 1980 run that much faster just because I tweaked the software a bit.
All right, I'm going to flip that. I'm going to flip this topic on its ear for just a second. Because the question has come up, when is a CoCo no longer a CoCo? I have my answer to that. When it's not compatible with hardware and software, it's no longer a CoCo. That's my definition. If you take a regular CoCo and you just stack it up with add-ons and hacks and splices and mods, and you just add all kinds of crap no matter what it looks like, as long as you can still run disk extender color basic, as long as you can still pop in a cartridge or boot a CoCo SDC, or as long as it can still run the original software and use original hardware accessories, it's still a CoCo no matter what you add to it.
I would agree with that.
My opinion. The minute it becomes...
It's like the Gimme X would qualify because you can still run your old stuff, but you can now run faster. You have new graphics modes. Yep. CoCo VJ, same thing. The Super Sprite Plus board, same thing.
Right. So when it comes to real hardware, as long as it's still compatible, it's still a CoCo. If you add a million things to it, it's a CoCo on steroids. Right. So.
Yeah. And that's part of the hardware hackers, tradition with the CoCo. This is a machine that actually got hacked, I think, proportionally, hardware-wise, more than a lot of the other machines. I mean, Atari did have its, hackers on the 8-bits, and the C64 had its hackers too, but it was a lot more the user side of things. And this is something the CoCo always excelled at. And that's something. I mean, we're making like no-halt controllers and hard drive controllers back in the 80s, the early to mid 80s even. And not too many of those machines were getting that kind of stuff unless they have like tens of millions.
Right. And for me, because I'm not a hardware guy and I'm not an old school guy, I don't care if your add-ons are real hardware, or if they're FPGA, or if they're silly putty. It kind of doesn't matter. If it's hardware based, if it's virtual hardware, if it's real hardware, if it's period correct hardware, I personally don't care. I know there's different opinions and preferences when it comes to that. But to me, it doesn't make sense to not use newer technology when it's there, because it's cheaper, it's more abundant, and it offers more stuff. It's like everybody uses static RAM now. So to make a memory board that's using old
dynamic RAM just because
it's
period
RAM,
correct.
To me, it doesn't make any sense. So
the thing is, static RAM is period correct too. We had static RAM. It was just
the
phenomenally expensive.
MC10 ran on static RAM, didn't it?
I can't remember if it did or not, but I do remember there was some upgrades for the CoCo that actually did like 64, 128K in static RAM, but it cost you $400 or $500 when it was like $150 for the dynamic ones.
Yeah, like even just using EEPROMs nowadays to me seems to be somewhat prehistoric, because if you can do it in Flash and you can flash it from the CoCo, why have to need an EEPROM burner at all? Mm-hmm. Like the CoCo SDC, you don't need an EEPROM burner for that. You can flash it from your CoCo. That's, to me, a great feature. Hey, Tim Linder's out there. And we're on the normal Zoom call. If anyone wants to jump in, we're just talking crap. We were doing a test stream, and then we actually started talking about stuff that is possibly annoying Alan Huffman. But
I had some good points, though. I mean, and that proves there are different audiences, different people that prefer certain things, or their range of what qualifies is much wider than somebody else's, or much narrower than somebody else's, just depending on the person.
So I'll give you. So there are people who are collectors, and then there's the people who are like. To me, I'm a collector, but I'm not a collector with unlimited financial means. So I have to be very choosy on what I collect. But do you remember a couple years ago there was these little tiny mini arcades? And it was literally the size of like a tin of Altoids, and it was a little tiny arcade with a little screen, and it played one game. And I think they were called Tiny Arcade or something like that. And they sold for about $20 a pop, and it looked like a little mini arcade cabinet, and it literally played one game on a little LCD screen. So you had a tiny arcade that played Pac-Man, you had a tiny arcade to play this and that, and those things were like $20 a piece. And yeah, listen, I'm an arcade fan, and could I afford a $20 trinket? Sure, but I just looked at that as like, you know what, that's kind of silly. Yes, I have some money, and yes, I'm a collector, and yes, I like arcade, but that's just not my thing. I'm not going to buy all these tiny arcades just because they make them. This is my personal preference, not bashing anybody who did, but that was like, to me, that tiny arcade was the gateway drug to things like the arcade 1-ups, which were the 3/4 sized ones, and then that went off to the At Games full-size console. So there are some people who are just huge fans that got the money and would buy them, but I'm not that big of a fan that I would buy that tiny arcade thing. Then that's just me, you know. Now, if that was a tiny CoCo, maybe different story, you know.
and myself personally, I'm not interested in any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd rather have the original real hardware, or I just use an emulator and be done with it.
Yeah. Tim Lindner has joined us.
What's your opinion, Timmy?
On what?
What we're talking about?
Well, I spent the last 5 minutes trying to remember the password, so I've been kind of absent.
Password is Grant Leedy.
I'm
we're talking about the various little hardware bits here for like the the C64 as that little mini 64 that's out now, and what is your opinion on whether those are worthwhile buying, or if some people stick with emulation?
Why would you buy a C64 mini when you can emulate it, and why would you buy a CoCo when you can emulate it? So all kinds of random questions.
Well,
thought experiments.
I can't really talk to the C64, but what I can do is I can imagine some company putting together a mini CoCo.
Yeah.
And trying to imagine if I would buy that.
I would.
And I probably would not. I would.
Unless it was just a completely poorly produced piece of crap.
Yeah, I don't see myself getting a mini CoCo. Now the full size Commodore 64s that have come out, if I can relate to that, if some mythical company were to produce a full size CoCo 3 or CoCo 2.
Well, question for you, Tim. Do you mean duplicating the existing one, or do you mean like a more modernized version that's like a
FPGA in the full size case?
Yeah, they're FPGAs in a full size case.
It's like a CoCo 3 FPGA kind of thing.
Yeah.
Except with the CoCo case.
Pedro's
got a CoCo 3 motherboard. He's actually got working right now, basically.
I guess I can't call you now, Jason. You're already out of the car.
Well, the phone still works outside the car.
Oh, okay.
I
thought it was
it has no wires.
I thought it was one of those car phones that that was actually in the car.
Well, I picked up the bag and I brought it in and hooked it inside. Yeah.
Hey, Jason, your mic's really hot too, by the way.
Really hot. We'll fix that.
You are hot, Jason. That's why Sarah likes you.
I worded it that way specifically so it wouldn't go to his head.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. How's that?
So Tim, if they made an FPGA CoCo 3 in a full-size case, you're saying you would or would not buy it?
All right. It would have to have a real cartridge port that worked.
Ah.
It would have to have joystick ports that worked.
Okay.
A serial port that worked.
Okay.
And HDMI output.
Okay.
I would strongly consider it.
Okay.
What about the cassette?
So there's John Lauer with his tiny arcade. Yeah. Is that the Pac-Man?
Where he draws
one?
the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Pac-Man and I've got
I mean, it's neat that they can do it on a screen that
small.
Yeah,
that's where it strikes the cool factor, but I would never buy one.
Yeah, it's really tiny. And you're right, it was around $20.
Yeah.
But now, John, have you gotten the Pac-Man fever vaccine?
So here's a thought experiment. For those who have bought the tiny arcade, how many of you have imagined what it would be like if you could now shrink yourself to the size where your tiny arcade was the right size, and then you could actually play it. Has anybody thought
Well,
about
if I want to
that?
simulate that, I just get an MC10.
Yeah, like when whatever happened to the Incredible Shrinking Man, if you remember that ancient movie, which had a really weird ending. But when you get down to that size, you could play.
You can play the tiny arcade like it was full size, and the screen wouldn't be too small.
You know what's interesting about these things? I learned shortly after I bought all 3 of them that you don't really have to buy all 3 of them.
Because there's some they're in there, you can hack them, right?
Yeah, there's basically like 3 or 4 pads, and there's a 0 ohm resistor soldered across one of them, basically a piece of wire, because 0 ohms is no resistance.
Right.
And
I
so
always found that
basically
term 0 ohm resistor just an oxymoron.
Yeah, well, I mean, it looks like a resistor, and it
Yeah,
has
it's just a
0 on
jumper.
it,
Mhm.
but it's
Yep.
essentially just a jumper. And so you could desolder it and move it over, but what someone found out is just desolder it completely, and then wire it in such a way that it's wired to the joystick, so that when you like hold it to the left and power it on, it boots Pac-Man. If you hold it up and power it on, it boots. So you could kind of wire them so that you could use the joystick to choose which game to play.
That just shows you if somebody's going to make something electronic, somebody's going to figure out a way to hack it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just,
and those larger units you were talking about, the ones that are like yay big.
Yeah, the 3/4 size ones, arcade one.
They're the same way. If you hack into them, there's a way to jumper them.
And that's the one that Henry Wrightville bought to CoCo Fest. He got one of those arcade 1-ups, 3/4 cabinets on the riser, and then he gutted it, put in a little Windows PC on a stick, and changed out the screen, and then made it run like VCC and made it into a CoCo cabinet, which is brilliant when you think about it. That's kind of cool. Taking that
like an arcade cabinet with
that was running CoCo emulation. He brought that to CoCo Fest. Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
it's playing like Rampage on.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I guess because I'm not as hardcore of a game player as some of you are, like Stevie. So I mean, if you get a game machine that has like real arcade joysticks and stuff, that maybe that would be something worthwhile getting, because that's not something you would typically have at home. And an emulator doesn't really do that unless you find some place to get a PC enabled red ball joystick or something.
Mm.
But for me, I mean, most time if you're delving into that kind of stuff, that's kind of getting out of the CoCo realm, and now you're into hardware emulation basically. I mean, it's no different than say the CoCo Pi or something at that point to me. And if I'm going to bother, I'd get one that's generic enough I could use it for multiple purposes,
right?
And especially one that only works as a CoCo.
Right. I think I would, and I think Tim was setting some pretty high standards for a CoCo replica. But if it was FPGA and it was hardware compatible, that would be a neat thing to buy. But then if that was mass produced, what do you think that would still sell for? It's probably going to be up there, and it's going to be at least a $200 product.
You're talking with full port support for cassette and
right,
cartridge,
but having now, so if it had HDMI output, it would need to have artifact emulation, which is being done a number of different ways. CoCo VGA does it. Gimme X is doing it.
The FPGAs themselves can handle that.
So.
Isn't the whole holdup like with the whole Microsoft rights issue? A lot of that stuff, the basic.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to sell it as a commercial product, definitely.
Yeah.
People know who owns the Commodore Basic. Actually, it'd still be
Commodore
Microsoft,
has
wouldn't it?
Basic. I thought it was just all pokes.
Oh, when you look at the basic program, all you
that
see
is a basic command.
It's the poke interpreter. I think they call it pokey, or no, I guess it was a
poke interpreter.
There's some print statements in between the pokes.
Maybe a home or something like that in the middle of the cursor at the top.
Yeah, but I was sitting here, and when Stevie brought up these little mini
tiny
arcade things,
things,
I was like, I got those.
Yeah, I remember you talking about those a long time ago too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of cool. They're novelties, though.
To play the mini arcade, you have to have one of these and like some tweezers.
The Mark overalls are future set. Yeah, like when it comes to things like the NES minis and all these minis, I'm just assuming, but I think the core art, the demographic for that is people who don't already emulate. Somebody says, "Oh my God, I remember that," or even the younger generation that says, "Oh, retro is so cool." I'm going to get this. It's user friendly. It's plug and play, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, the zero setup machines are popular for people those that don't want to have to figure out MAME or whatever.
All the games are built in. You know, you just menu load the game you want to play, so that's preloaded software library, plug and play, user friendly. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think the target audience is people who either don't already know how to emulate it, or younger people, or non-technical people. But then there will be people who says, yes, I have the real Nintendo, and yes, I've got the emulator, and I've got all the ROMs, but I still want to have that because I'm a Nintendo fan, and I'll buy it anyways, and I've got the disposable income to do it. But I think the people who are a little bit more hardcore, that have real hardware and know how to emulate, they're probably a smaller percentage of the consumer base than the neophytes.
Yeah.
You know,
the Amigos are having this exact same conversation on that new Amiga clone that's come out, you know, up by basically a modern one too, and they're trying to figure out what is the market for this too, because you know the hardcore collectors will want the actual hardware, and the people that really play the software all the time generally run emulators because you can do it on a Pi or something like that and run a bazillion machines. It doesn't have to be just the one dedicated Amiga. So they're figuring the target market for that might be people that had the Amiga back in the day, sold it off back in 1997 or something, haven't seen it since. Then they get that nostalgia twinge when they see this thing running a bunch of the games they liked back then at zero setup. You just plug it in and go. You don't have to worry about installing all this stuff. So they figure that target market there might actually go for it. But the hardcore emulator people and the hardcore hardware people probably, some will still get it if they have the disposable income to be able to afford it on top of everything else they're collecting.
Right.
But otherwise, they probably won't.
Yeah, that now what Tim was explaining too, like that the CoCo did this, that, and the other, to a degree, that's kind of what At Games has done with some of their things. Like At Games has an Atari flashback where you can plug in real Atari paddles and real Atari sticks, and you can plug the old cartridges into it, and it will run 99% of the old stuff. What people are saying is that those At Games ones probably won't run some of the new brew stuff because that needs more memory and stuff like that. But and they did the same thing with the Sega Genesis, although the sound emulation wasn't as good. But they had made some really inexpensive, like less than $100 consoles that had a built-in library, but also had the ability to plug in cartridges and plug in peripherals from the old stuff. And to me, that's a sweet spot when you get something that's $50 or under $100, and it's got the kind of the best of most worlds, where you've got included software, plug and play, ease of use, and some hardware compatibility built in.
Does the CoCo 3 FPGA have some of those old ports? I thought it did.
I don't know what the CoCo 3 FPGA has, to be honest with you. I've seen it at CoCo Fest, but I've never looked behind it. I know they added an analog board for certain things, but I don't know what they do. Go ahead, Tim. Joysticks. Okay, so
does it have joysticks? Is that what you're saying, Tim, or it needs joysticks?
It has joysticks and I think an RS-232 serial port.
So you can actually plug an actual CoCo joystick into the CoCo FPGA.
Yes, you can, with the analog board.
Okay.
And then what is Ron Delvaux saying? In 10 or 15 years, maybe 20 years, the old folks supporting now. And there's no old folks supporting the CoCo right now, right? We're all youngsters, aren't we? We're all spry young. But let's see. So in 20 years,
sure.
In 20 years, the old folk supporting the CoCo will be gone. How many young people are coming in to support the old machine?
Surprisingly, there is a few. Some people the younger people, and we've seen this on the Amigo show and on ours for that matter, or even on the Dragon, we've seen like Ben Drakes and some of these others come in. They take a look at the old hardware and they go, "That's kind of cool. I'm learning the history of, how these games that are modern games are, where did they come from?" type thing. And a lot of people do follow that back. Same as musicians eventually go back to the blues, even if they're playing flashy, modern stuff.
Right.
And I think there's a bit of that. How big that audience is, I don't know, but there definitely is a younger audience that is getting into the retro scene.
So let's do another thought experiment. Let's move 50 years into the future, where all of us are gone. And what is more important to preserve? If we want to talk about just historical preservation, is it more important to preserve the circuit and hardware designs, or is it more important to preserve the software library and it just runs on some future emulation
I'd say
station?
Equal for different groups of people.
Okay.
I mean, if you go to a computer museum, that's usually the old hardware.
Right. So,
but if you go online, like software archives, and that's the old software running in an emulator in the web or something type thing. So it depends on what your area of interest is.
Those new all-in-one units like like the C64 Mini and all that stuff. That's just an emulator, basically. Even Nintendo came out with that mini Nintendo thing, and it was basically just emulation. As a matter of fact, they were criticized for using the Nintendo had this really basic kind of security chip in it. It was fairly easy to defeat for emulation purposes. Someone had to basically write a file that defeated the security, and since Nintendo just went the let's just emulate it route, they were criticized for using the file that was created by the hacker community to get past the security, to get past their own security,
to break their own security.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Hackintosh soft ROM.
But they were criticized because they were complaining about people who were using that particular file to defeat the security, and here they are doing it themselves.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought experiment. I think everybody's story is going to be a little bit different as to what they prefer, and there'll be some overlaps where it'll be like a Venn diagram, what your purpose is, and there'll be some people in the middle that want it all. And
sorry about that.
But
Michael Pitsley says in 50 years, the most important thing will be documentation. It's going to take 50 years to document what's already out here.
That's what disassembly's for.
Yeah.
Well,
electron scans.
If you look at it, there are people that are into like vintage radios that are 100+ years old, and they like to restore old radios and things like that. So no matter how far into the future you get, there's going to be at least some niche.
Somebody's going to want to preserve something, huh?
Yeah, that's going to be like
this is like old cameras too. You can get some of the old
old cameras, old radios, old electronics,
old cameras from the 1870s or something like that, and you get them still working.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I have one of them actually. Well, mine's from the 1917 around, but
that's quite a while ago. It's over 100 years.
Yeah,
Been
in the family that long too.
There's a guy who does drone photography and like real estate VR 3D tours and stuff that I met, and his business card, it's a clear plastic thing, but it has the little perforations on the side that look like a film strip. And then in the middle of that, it's got some pictures of looks like pictures that are negatives. And it's like, wait a second, who even knows what film is anymore? Who knows what a negative is? Because he's a photographer, that was some
it's kind of like records though, because those were completely gone, and we got CDs and DVDs, and they're all coming back now because there's that, and these are young people buying the records now. It's not the old people buying the records. So it's
I was just at Walmart tonight, and they have a section you can buy records. They're expensive, but they have them.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a hard thing to tell, because I mean, I wouldn't have expected 20 years ago that records would come back and be popular with the young people. That's just wow.
So vinyl's been making a big comeback for.
There's been a couple of times in the last 2 years that vinyl's outsold CDs.
So let's take that thought experiment. So vinyl was then kind of eclipsed by tape. Do you think there's going to become a tape movement, or people are going to want to buy cassette tapes?
It depends on the reason you're doing it. Like, I think the reason vinyl's getting popular versus CDs. I mean, CDs were better than tape for as far as if you want to get album artwork and you want like little stories of songs and lyrics and else. You just got this fold out thing.
Yeah.
On a record, you can get these huge booklets and actually have like a history of the band and whatever.
Yeah.
When you get in a little, J style, foldable cassette thing, you can't even read the damn thing.
Oh, what's
CD was a little bit bigger, but not much better. So maybe that's why vinyl's come back. I don't really know.
Remember, Cheech and Chong had that big album
the
size.
Big bamboo, the rolling paper.
Big
bamboo, yeah. Well, so the liner notes and the album art and all that kind of stuff was cool. Cassette to me was always an inferior quality, but I think one of the reasons why vinyl's making a comeback is there's been a movement saying that it sounds better than digital. That if you have the right stereo equipment and the right phonograph and needles and all that kind of stuff, supposedly it's got a better sound. And again, I haven't listened to enough of it to know for sure. I would not have good enough fidelity equipment to know for sure. But there are some people who are kind of purists, kind of like the period correct old hardware kind of thought, or this is more pure of a sound.
Yeah, but are you talking about the younger people getting into it now?
No, just in general. The people, the reason why vinyl came back wasn't because of the bigger artwork. I think it was more because of the fact that supposedly they're saying it's a better sound.
My problem anymore isn't the hardware; it's my hardware. It's like at my age, it's like if I listen to really good vinyl or really good top quality digital, FLAC and all that kind of stuff, because there's like that high end digital market too. I can't hardly probably tell the difference between the two, just because of the frequency range response is dropped, somewhat, not noticeably. Yeah. I mean, I can hear, but if you really need to, if I pull out an app and go up in frequencies, once I'm up over like 14 or so, it's dropped way off. It gets harder and harder to hear. And
interesting set of questions here from Ron DeVoe and Scott Cooper here. How many of us have sons and daughters who are interested in the CoCo? And Ron says none of his are. And then Scott Cooper, I tried to get my girls to play the CoCo, and they're not interested. And that, I think, is probably the more common aspect of it. But I do know several people in the CoCo community who their kids are really into it. They've been playing the games and taking part of Game On. Some of them are actually learning the basic program at the age of 8, because it's easier to set up and get stuff immediately feedback-wise. Versus any modern language where you have to run it through a compiler and an ID and all this other crap.
Right.
So I think it's like, once again, a smaller niche market. That's not going to be the average experience of everybody that their kids are interested in it, but some are. There definitely is some.
Just the Hello World app on an iPhone is about 30 megabytes.
Wow.
And there's just so much overhead.
Yeah, and I remember when I used to complain the C compiler version of that was like a K, because I had to bring the whole printf library in, and I'm used to doing it in like 30 bytes.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of something I saw in the Dragon group this week on Facebook. One of the guys is teaching a class on Python, and
you saw that too.
Pulled up his XROAR emulator in class, showing how it's similar to BASIC, and the students were getting a kick out of that. So
yeah, and then you had a picture like from the back of the class. You could see the big projection screen on the front of the class showing a Dragon emulator, and then every single student's little PC or whatever also had the Dragon emulator running. That was cool.
That is kind of cool.
Like in our web browser or something?
Yeah, Dragon on.
There's XROAR online now. Yeah. So.
Oh, really? Cool.
Which is brilliant when you think about it. It's, talking about emulating. I mean, now you can emulate in a browser.
We have MC10 emulators online. XROAR, which emulates CoCo 1, 2s, and Dragon 3264s are all available to run online. They're even linked into the World of Dragon archive and the Color Computer archive. You can just click on a link to players like this week's game.
The thing too is when you talk about emulation and stuff, like I'm trying to explain this now because I'm now in the VoIP business, and I'm explaining that your phone is software, your phone is virtual. The fact that I can sell you a piece of plastic that sits on your desk that has a handset and it looks like the phone you grew up with, that's one thing. But the reality is your phone service is from the internet, and it's all being driven by software. There's no copper, there's no, there's none of that kind of stuff that it is. And that's kind of, so nowadays these voice over IP phones are emulating the old analog copper phone service, and they're doing a heck of a lot better job. But it's like I could, and that's kind of like getting to the CoCo 3 FPGA thing, right? If it's in the case and it looks like a CoCo, that's a comfort factor. And I can click on the keyboard and it looks like a CoCo, and it's like a VoIP phone. I got one on my desk. It's cool to hold this to your ear. You feel like, hey, I'm on the phone. This is cool. But what is it? It's emulated, and we put it in a piece of plastic for the nostalgia or
do you think the reliability is a factor as well? Because a good example is the phone thing. Because the old copper lines underground, overground type thing. If you had a power failure, your phone still worked because that's driven by power coming through the phone line. Right. Nothing to do with electricity. We used to use that at work when we had to contact people when our power went out, because all of our electric phones and all the fancy stuff there would just quit working. Whereas those will still work. You can still, call for emergencies or whatever else, or contact loved ones if you have a hurricane. So
So how you supplement that is because your phone is based on software and it's in the cloud. If you lost power to your facility and you got a mobile phone that can still get data, you got a soft phone that's on your mobile phone, your phone system's still with you and it's still running. Because your phone system,
as long as the power lasts long enough, you don't run out of juice in your phone.
Yeah, right. But that's like the phone system itself is no longer dependent on the facility power or the copper to that facility or anything else like that, but it reminds us of the old ways, but it's really being emulated,
Yeah. I mean, part of that's nostalgia, and part of that's is a hardcore backup system because, like I said, the copper phone lines, the old thought system actually is more reliable.
And that's why
than any of the new stuff is.
Certain alarm, like when you have an alarm system and you want an alarm monitoring on that, a lot of those alarm monitoring still want to come over a copper phone line because it's not likely to be. It's more reliable, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've seen internet outages. You get some denial of service attack, and all of a sudden, crap doesn't work, or you can't even get into your cloud, or like we were doing earlier here, where your bandwidth just suddenly dropped.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's that whole interplay too. Sometimes the old ways are better.
Right. And Ron's pointing out that he's found and Ron finds some really interesting things at Goodwill all the time. He's found an old dial phone.
He's got a Goodwill where he lives.
You know what the problem is nowadays, and that's why I had to buy a cheap butt set. But every now and then you need to test a phone line to see if it's working. Like I have a client says my fax machine's not working. I'm like, well, I don't know if it's your machine or if it's your phone line. Who the hell can test a phone line? I mean, have you got a phone? Does anybody have an analog phone I can just plug into this
right over here
and see if I can get it? Nobody has those anymore.
I'm not using it, but it's there for emergency.
So, I ran into that 2 or 3 different times where I needed a phone, an old-fashioned phone. Well, I got one of these ones that's a cordless base station, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But no, that's not the same thing. I just got to plug this thing in and just see if I can get toned. So I bought
go to Dollar General and buy those $5 phones.
Yeah, that's one way. But I think I bought like a $12 from China butt set that just plugs in and has all kinds of alligator clips and other accoutrements for tapping into your 66 blocks and stuff. So
I just kept an old one from the old days. I just never got rid of it. I got rid. I used to have 3 or 4 phones in the house here, and I've got only the one now, and that's for emergencies only.
Yeah, every now and then you need that old phone.
Speaking of Goodwill, I was at Goodwill the other day, and I needed a
applying for a job.
No, I needed a faucet for the bathroom, for the vanity in the bathroom, and the one that was there worked. It was just kind of the aerator was gone, and it was it was crappy. It didn't have a plunger and all that. So I hit Goodwill about every other week or so, and the next day after I was realizing I needed one, I went into Goodwill and they had a brand new one in the box. $6.
Wow.
Can't beat it.
And somebody had one and said, what am I going to do with this? I'm just going to give it to Goodwill, right? And
and I looked it up. Lowe's sells it for like $35. So I've saved a few bucks.
So do we solve the question about a CoCo 4 then?
Yeah.
No, I think we still need to really
I think that basically the ultimate answer is the answer is going to be different for everybody depending on what your slant of your interest is.
Wasn't Radio Shack working on effectively what would be a CoCo 4 when they decided to,
It was a plastic mock-up from what I recall.
Yeah, there's a case, but there's no innards. There was no motherboard design, though there was talk about putting a floppy controller on the board itself. Yeah. That's about as far as it got.
Yes. Paul Fiscarelli's asking for the Zoom link. I have to find it in... where do we have our Zoom link? It's in private planning, right? I don't remember where.
I should have it handy here.
You want me to post it in chat?
No, we're not going to post it in chat, but I just need to. I need to find it.
I think he means a Zoom chat.
He wants to join the Zoom call, I think. Oh, in the Zoom chat. No. I need to send it to Paul Fiscarelli. He sent me a DM. So let me just copy and paste that. It's coming, Paul. It's coming. All right. I just sent it to you, Paulie. Paulie Walnuts. Yeah, it's interesting how some things come around. I'm wondering, I think I wrote an article recently about some people are now getting into cassette tapes or VHS tapes because they like the tactile. Damn, what's up with that beard, Paulie?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Holy
shit, is this your Dusty Hill tribute or what is this?
This is right, the razor shortage during these uncertain times.
That's right. Been holed up in the basement for the last 18 months.
Wow, look at that thing, man. You are a survivalist.
How you guys doing?
I'm doing good, Paulie. How about yourself, man?
Pretty good.
Any birds living in that beard?
Let me check.
Yeah,
Tweet, tweet, tweet.
This way I can get lunch here just a second.
So how you guys been?
Not bad. And yeah, we started off as just doing a test and just started shooting the shit and haven't stopped shooting. There's a lot of holes in the shit, but we're still shooting it. So.
Yeah, I got the alert and saw that you guys started at 8:30 and realized you were still going. That's pretty cool.
The shit is fully aerated by now.
Yeah. Oh, Ron Delvo says beard looks great.
Thanks, Ron. You're a good role model.
Yeah. So what you been up to, Polly?
Work's been busy and been hanging out with the kids quite a bit throughout the summer. Did some camping and some trips back to New York to see family and everything. So been busy enjoying the summer.
Good. Far out.
How about you, Stevie? Looks like you were doing some renovations on the house.
Oh yeah. New floors are in. Still got stuff to do, putting the house back together, but it was a big road to get to this part, but everything's going to be easier from moving forward.
Cool.
So yeah.
You're over the crest and coming back down.
Yeah, coming back down. Yeah. So so
you try to walk around your house in socks.
Yeah, well, there's, we had concrete. We had half the floor ripped up, and so half the house was concrete, and some of it had tile, some of it had carpet. It was all over the place.
Did you do it yourself, or?
We ripped up half of it ourselves, and then got to the point where it was the carpet's not hard. It was just the tile, because we were doing it by hands, didn't have power tools or anything. So I'm just using like wedges and chisels and screwdrivers and hammers and stuff to get the tiles up. But a lot of them were real loose. So a lot of them we could get up fairly easily, but then when I got to the stuff that was like really kind of cemented down hard and I couldn't get it up easily.
It was done correctly?
Yeah. At that point, I'm like, well, either I'm going to have to rent a machine and then rent the bag and pay to have the stuff hauled off. And when I did the math on what it would cost me just to rent the machines and the
person
and the bins, I'm like, yeah, I might as well just throw this in with the install. So we got the.
Oh my God, is Santa Claus on the show?
Santa Claus on the show. Oh. Yeah, you ain't gonna get shit for Christmas this year, Greg.
That's what the kids have been telling me.
A question from Ron for you, Paul. There, he said, "Did you ever hook up with Sockmaster?" I'm not sure what that's referring to.
Oh, no, Ron. Was he going to reach out to me? I thought you said he had a question for me. I haven't reached out to him, but if I should, let me know.
John's been posting that cool stuff about.
Yeah, just using grays to make full color pictures. That was
that was neat.
I saw some of the stuff that he's been doing. It's pretty impressive.
Man,
once I got to the math part, my head hurt, but it's very impressive to look at.
Just when you think we've heard the last from Sockmaster, he'll come out of the clear blue and just poof, just drop something on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did he word it when he first did it? He said, "I got dragged into this," and then he just went off on a week-long.
Which means somebody asked him a question and he got curious, and the next thing you know, he's doing full-blown research again.
So Paul, your Long Branch Never stuff has been coming up recently because a few more people are getting interested in doing the assembly stuff.
Yeah, I've been catching shows here and there. Saw a little bit of that, so that's great that you guys are still doing that.
Yeah, so sorry for screwing that up for you there, Paul. We keep making the episodes 5 or 6 hours. It's going to take you a hell of a long time to catch up on all that. So sorry.
Well, I caught a little bit of the Dragon one. That was awesome. Great job pulling that together, Curtis. It was amazing. So I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but some of the content you guys have been producing is awesome.
I distinctly heard you say some.
Some. I won't mention the outliers.
Yeah, right.
Well, the ones that I've been able to catch have been awesome.
Right. So. Yeah, honestly, when it's sometimes you can't even stop to try to analyze it or think about it because it's like, wait a second. The show that I didn't think was going to last more than 4 weeks after CoCo Fest ended has been going on for 4 years, and now we're sitting there. Curtis was like, "Man, we're already booked up until October
25th."
And we have some incredible interviews coming up in the next month straight. So it's just like, man, and we're having to turn people away now, and it's like, wait a second. I mean, it's just so. It's something that I never would have expected, you know.
How many lunches has Ron Delvaux expensed out?
Yeah, right. So.
Yeah, that's great that there's still so much vibrant community happening.
Yeah, and it's kind of the dragon that feeds itself too, because I mean, the more guests we get coming back in, they start bringing some of their friends from the old days in, and they haven't touched a CoCo in 3 or 4 decades, and they start commenting. Like we'll mention this on the show tomorrow, but Stewart Orchard, our interview last week, his sister came and commented on the YouTube video. So I don't even know if Stewart knows about that yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We had the same thing, which reminded me, because Chris Latham when we interviewed him, made a similar comment from his sister that was like watching the show, and she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy and I'm so proud of him. I don't know if he realizes how much that it meant to you guys, or if he whatever." But she had so many heartfelt things to say.
Yeah.
About
even Stewart himself I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the whole interview, Stevie, but Stewart himself there, just from reading out some of the comments in chat, like it's probably the best and most feedback he's had is since he wrote the games in the first place.
Oh wow! No, I started listening to the replay on Monday, and then my week just ran away from me, so I didn't watch it, but I was trying to listen.
You're definitely gonna have to watch it just to see that unreleased game. That
okay.
Just because there's some pretty cool parallax specs on the Dragon 32. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's and he seems like he's a very humble, soft-spoken kind of person. He's not really boastful.
Yeah, he's not an arrogant prick like I am, so that's always a plus.
Yeah, very. Yeah, that was exhausting, that Dragon show, but in a good way. But it was just.
I'm glad we got it on tape, because as I was mentioning during some of our Zoom previews with other upcoming guests over the next month here that we did tonight, that you want to try to get these things down before the people disappear and they're not here to be on anymore. So you want to try to get this history while you can. Share it with the world.
Tough with 6 hours of news afterwards.
Yeah, right.
Well, that was part of last week. I mean, the interview was long, which was good because we really delved into the history of stuff. And then, of course, we had 2 weeks of both game on news and regular news to catch up on. So that was longer than normal. Normally, we at least try to get the game on news out, maybe hold the news back for a week. But in that case, because the interview was long enough and stuff, plus we had Dragon Talk the week before, we did no news at all. So there was a lot to catch up on. And CoCo News is building. I mean, if I take a look at what we did like 2 years ago, there's much less news happening back then than there is now. The community is definitely growing. Like
So,
this,
Paul,
tomorrow we'll be talking about Paul Fiscarelli's beard. I'm sure that'll be newsworthy. So.
Breaking beard news.
Oh my
Hey, Paul, are you going to CoCo Fest?
I'm not sure yet. I still have my registration in and everything, but we'll see how things go.
Somewhere I have my Rondell Vo stunt beard. I actually do. So yeah, I'm feeling a little. I'm feeling like I need to compensate for something here. So hold on.
Start calling Paul Grandpa Paul.
Back in my day, we had vinyl records and CoCo ones.
So good
And we liked it.
Yep.
There you go.
There we go. Let me get the bright light on.
Yeah, you need to get some lighting because it looks.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Stevie's been looking like the Blair Witch Project all night.
Yeah, so this is the do-it-yourself Rondell Vo kit, where you can dress up. You too can look like Rondell Vo at home, kids, as everybody wants to.
Yeah, Ron Delvaux, you have to design the game, get one of us to code it for you, and then sell that kit as part of the game.
Roger of CoCo's not included.
So yeah, I'm keeping the beard quota up here tonight. So
Jeremy Larry says Steve keeps a stunt beard by his setup. There is a question that needs to be answered.
Don't be
Yeah,
jealous.
the second one is by the bedside for those special times, but.
Stevie has a stunt beard. I have a $5 ukulele.
I don't know how the hell people wear these things, man. It's just. Hello, everybody. My name is Rendezvous. I'm going to talk to you about Mopar.
That's right. It's got a Hemi.
It's got a Hemi in it. Right. Rendezvous, Mopar, astronomy, Goodwill.
Mopar or no car.
Yeah, they're out random Ron sound bites.
You need a whole soundboard for that.
The Rendezvous soundboard. You can just start working on that. Yeah,
I see Ron says, yeah. I don't know if he's talking about the soundboard or not. That might have been
I was talking about the beard.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not, that's an honor when they make a Halloween store costume in after you. I mean, this is the Rendezvous costume kit here. So, Polly, you're hold on a second. I gotta take this off. That disc tool that you were working on, are you still working on that?
I am actually. Just dug it out. I haven't touched it in the last 6 months or so, and a few people pinged me on it. So I need to clean up a couple things so I can get another release out there for folks to play around with. But was it Bruce? I think Bruce, Bruce Moore.
The Bruce. Here comes the real Rendezvous. We had accept no invitations.
Enough of you impersonators. Here's the real
accept
thing.
no invitations. We have the real Rendezvous in person here now. Rendezvous. It's a Hemi.
He's here to give Paul some beard tips. That's what I think he's here for.
What
What
kind of
grooming
wax
oil do you use in your beard,
Yeah,
Ron?
what's the grooming oil there? Mine's a little untamed there, Ron. What do you
It's
use?
WD-40. 40 weight, right? So.
From being underneath the Mopar there when you're changing oil or something.
Welcome to Beard Time.
Butter.
Butter. I thought maybe you used I can't believe it's not beard oil.
My goodness. It's almost turning into a real show at this point.
Has it ever been a real show, Stevie?
It has.
Last few weeks it has.
At least my beard's short compared to some.
Yeah. Polly's bringing home the gold.
Yeah, but Paulie looks probably the wisest of us all.
Yeah, right.
It's a ZZ Top video, or what?
Right, you're gonna give Rick Ewan a
Just need one more beard in the middle there.
just
Actually,
need
no,
Rick
Frank
Ewan.
Beard didn't have a beard, so that
There you go.
we're ready. ZZ Top in the middle 3 squares. Who's Dusty and who's Billy? We'll let you decide.
So, did you see, Paul, that he's probably on vacation, so you can't hook up with Sockmaster.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure the context, but like I said, I didn't know if he was going to reach out to me or what.
Well, he's doing the work with the what is it?
Artifact colors.
Yeah, that's it.
Gotcha.
And he wants to make a program to display it, or have it so like High Color 2 is.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So you can put it up on the screen, put a BMP or something in there, and have it come out as a BIN was 640 by 200.
Oh,
Yeah,
kind of like
for
some of
the
the,
grayscale. Yeah.
some of the graphic screens that I was showing you. Yep. Yeah, we definitely talk to him about it. Although I think I could probably do something like that in his sleep, but anything I might be able to do to help.
Yeah, he's all excited. He's thinking you're the right guy for the job.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Also, Paulie, I don't know if you've been following lately too. You got some competition in the disc utility.
Yeah, Sheldon McDowell's been working on some stuff.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of what he's working on. It looks pretty interesting, pretty neat stuff.
He's a mad tinkerer.
Yesterday, I posted a picture of my charger and my wife on it's a site that says post your picture of your car pre 80s. And so this guy saw the car, so he must have went to my site, and he saw I had a picture up of the 6809. So he texts me, we're not friends, and he says, what's the 6509 about?
I thought it was an engine or something?
Yeah. And I said, it's a chip in the color computer from back in the day, and then he starts saying, oh, I had a Trash 80. I said, well, we don't refer to it as that, it's the color computer, So I got him all excited about it, and now he's going to come listen to the show tomorrow.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah, and the guy is from, I don't know, he said he's moving from the East Coast to central United States, and he comes to Arizona once in a while. He said, catch up with me sometime. But he's real interested in the processor, and he was saying how advanced it was at the time, probably better than the 6502.
No problem about it.
Yeah, he thought it was an extension of the 6502 or something.
In a way.
Yeah.
Well, was it the same guy that
The
worked on the
6502 was
6800?
a knockoff of the 6800.
100, yeah.
Right.
Cheaper.
So-
Yeah, it was
cheaper version
much
of it.
cheaper.
So in a way,
Right,
the
he
6502 is a knockoff of the older version of the 6809.
Chuck Peddle was saying make it cheaper and give up stuff to make it cheaper, and you'll sell a gajillion of them, and there's like billions of 6502s.
Yeah, I mean, it did work. I mean, the 6809 was much more advanced, but I think at the time, like around that era, the 78, 79, 80 type thing, I think it was like 6 times the price of a 6502 chip.
It's like
Right,
just give
but
up
it
what
could,
you don't
like-
actually need.
Right, like a washing machine or something like that. You could use a 6502 because you're not driving much in the way of display, and you don't need all the processing power in the world to run basically a group of timers. And so because comparably at the time, the 6809 and the Z80 were around $150, and that's
Now,
why.
if you want your washing machine to play Joust, on the other hand,
Exactly, you need a 6809.
We just bought a washer and dryer, Samsung, and it does have a feedback to your phone to give you codes on the current status of its health.
That's pretty cool.
You can ask your washer or dryer how they're doing.
and how much time left on this load of laundry type thing.
Yeah.
Notification that my washer has a head cold.
Yeah, I've got that on mine. And that's what I use it for, is how much time is left on the cycle.
Yeah. Every 20 loads, it does a realignment or something. It has to do a cleaning.
There's more computing power in your washer than in your CoCo.
Yeah.
Not as much fun though.
Yeah.
You're a real CoCo guy, just like you're a real car guy. If somebody came up with a replica of a Dodge vehicle, would you want to drive a replica, or would you rather drive a real one, Ron?
Well, what it's going to be is electric, probably, right?
Who knows, man?
With a sound chip in it, so it sounds like a Charger. Oh yeah. You push the gas pedal down, and then like 2 seconds later, it goes. Vroom.
This is kind of like Ron talking about the FPGA CoCo versus the real CoCo type thing. It's the same thing.
Did you guys see that they actually have those as add-on kits for Teslas, so you can make it sound like different cars?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and one of them is a Dodge Challenger Hellcat.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
press the pedal. It's got to load the WAV file.
One of the drawbacks of the electrical vehicles is that because there is no engine sound, it's all you hear is the tires on the pavement, which there's trouble, like people crossing the street or something, and
they
they
couldn't
don't hear the car coming. Yeah.
One that sounds like.
Well, then look up from the phone and look around.
All right.
No, if it's people I don't like, I don't want them to hear me coming. So.
Stealth vehicle.
Curtis, why'd you get a red Tesla?
It'll be red by the time I'm done driving around with it.
Anybody watch anything good on TV lately? Any of the new streaming shows or anything?
I haven't had time.
I saw the teaser for the season 2 of Picard.
Oh.
2022. It'll be out probably in January.
Yeah,
So about
Picard's
6
a
8
win.
months.
I don't care for him.
He's
Actually,
not a real captain like Kirk, right?
The Picard
What's the man?
series is really, really good. If you haven't seen it, it's not like any Star Trek you've ever seen. You know, it's like, how many Star Treks have you seen where they use the F word? You know, it's real gritty, and
that's good.
It's good too. It's got a great storyline. It involves my favorite Star Trek character, so season 1 was really good.
You're more of a next gen fan, though, aren't you?
Well, no, I grew up with the original series, and when Next Gen came out, I heard like, "Oh, Star Trek's coming back," and I'm like, "Oh, yay, Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock." And they're like, "No, it's going to be a new, the next generation. It's going to be all different cast." And at first, I was like, screw that. And the first few years, I didn't.
Yeah, I was
watch.
the same way. I wasn't interested until it was almost off the air.
Yeah.
And then I started getting into it, and then I was like, "Oh man, I take it off the air." And then the movie started coming out, and I actually ended up liking the Next Generation movies better than the original cast movies, because they started taking things
higher budget.
Higher budget, just a little better. It just seemed like the more of the Shatner movies they made, the movies started going downhill. Like after it was like 4. I think like Star Trek 4 was probably the last good one they had, with the whales or whatever. But the Star Trek 5 where he talks to God, like what really?
Yeah, that one was directed by Shatner.
Yeah,
That was a horrible.
really?
It was a horrible story. I thought the storyline was.
Did that movie need to be made? That's
Yeah.
like if you can get rid of what they say. It's the even ones that were good in the original. Like so, you had your Wrath of Khan and your Voyage Home. Those were the good ones, and then the.
Well, the Next Gen that I didn't care for is you're watching the Next Gen, and pretty soon you're realizing, well, wasn't this Star Trek? It sounds like, you don't see space, you don't see outside, you see them push buttons now and then, but they're all talking.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, though, with the next... So, even the original Star Trek being made in the 60s, and they're trying to imagine what the future's like. So you see Spock putting his tapes in the computer, and you're talking to a computer. But they were doing it based on what they could do in the 60s. So, yes, it was future-ish, but you look at it now, and it's like, yeah, that looks like old crap. But when you look at TNG, they're walking around with tablets, and they're, like, touching stuff on the wall and stuff. And that's all stuff that we have now. So I think how they predicted the future and how they represented that stuff is actually closer matching real stuff now.
The guy that invented the MPEG-3 audio layer was inspired to create that because he heard Data was listening to, he was telling the computer, play this, change the key of this song to this, and he was listening to 8 things at once or something, and it was mixing it all together, and he was just really impressed by that. He's like, yeah, I wish we could have a computer.
That goes for the original Star Trek too, though. I mean, like communicators, like flip phones. That's where that came from.
Yeah,
that was
true.
directly
The flip
inspired
phone,
by them. So
yeah. Well, the guys that built the first cell phone said that Star Trek thing was their goal. That's what inspired them to.
And a lot of NASA people have been. They said they if it wasn't for Star Trek, they wouldn't have been at NASA. They wouldn't have created all the things they've done for probes and everything else. It's all based on watching Star Trek, both the original and Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
There was an interesting thing. It was a documentary, and it was jokingly called "How William Shatner Changed the World," and it was really actually how Star Trek changed the world. But it was hosted by Shatner, and how pompous he can be. So it was really neat, though. But he was kind of pointing out, like flip phones and the various technologies that could draw directly back to Star Trek, where they were interviewing people who were saying Star Trek was their inspiration.
Well, so here's something that I don't think this question's been answered yet by real science, but what the hell is a tricorder, and what do we have that even remotely resembles a tricorder today? Does anybody have any little magic wand they wave in front of
an Apple Watch is probably pretty close. It does a lot of the metrics and stuff.
I was going to say my iPhone, but I compared my iPhone, my first iPhone 3G. I was showing it to my brother. I'm like, I got a better device than a tricorder because it does the things it does.
Yeah. Because a tricorder basically it was a medical device sometimes where you could read what's wrong with so and so, and then you could also use it to measure temperature and pressure and stuff.
The Next Generation had a distinction between a regular tricorder and a medical tricorder, and interestingly,
an add-on.
I think there was like a medical
plug-in,
tricorder.
plug-in.
Yeah,
They
but
never
what you
really
could do is there
referred
was
to
a
it.
jumper. You could open it up and just clip off this jumper, and then you could hack it to be whatever you wanted it to be.
McCoy would open up a tricorder.
There was a
and he
0
had this-
ohm resistor that was in there that you could just cut off.
And then he'd operate on you with salt shakers. So that was awesome.
I was going to say that's exactly the truth. That thing that McCoy would examine you with, a medical device that he would scan you with.
Probe.
It was a salt shaker. That's all
really?
it was this salt shaker. Yeah.
That's where the props department found these weird, obscure salt shakers, these fancy ones from the 60s, and that's what they used as a prop.
Yeah, but it did inspire people. Like there was this guy, and he had this big giant hunk of medical equipment. But he said that when he was a kid, he watched Star Trek, and he thought that little medical thing, that wand that McCoy would wave over you to determine what's wrong with you, that inspired him to go on to create this medical device he had created.
Well, we have an MRI, but it's a little bit bigger than a salt shaker. So.
Yeah. Right, but just the idea of creating, time will shrink items, obviously.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But just the concept, the show threw out the concept, and a lot of people grew up to invent, the cellular technology.
Anytime you go to a grocery store, you walk up to a door, it opens up automatically. That's a Star Trek thing.
Star Trek.
It just has to make that noise.
That's such an iconic noise. You hear that sound no matter where you are, and you know exactly what that's from. Actually, Ron DeVoe, speaking of Star Trek there, check the Color Computer Archive over the weekend, because Glenn will be putting up the new version of the Star Trek 3 game from Adventure International. I'll have the news tomorrow too, but I fixed it up finally so it actually runs properly off disk, so like the warp works properly, and when you get hit by a Klingon, it works properly. But it's the only officially licensed Star Trek property that CoCo ever had. And I'd be interested to hear your take on it.
The Final Frontier. So we don't have tricorders. We definitely don't have transporters.
Well, we do at the quantum level.
Yeah, we can transmit knowledge instantaneously.
Yeah. Fortunately, it doesn't seem to work on Earth, but yeah.
Did you guys realize that Chrysler Corporation helped get us to the moon? They built the Saturn 1B, and each launch of that rocket never failed. And it was used all the way up to, was one of the last Saturns launched to the space station. And I was proud of it.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Yep. That Chrysler made the first rocket that took us into space with what was the first guy that took a short trip?
Alan Shepard.
Yeah, he had the Redstone rocket, and that was made by Chrysler. And the Saturn 1B, the Redstone rocket was part of the core of the Saturn 1B. They actually used the tube, was it 6 or 8 of them?
I feel like Al Hartman needs to be here. We've been talking about Star Trek for more than 5 minutes at this point. Yeah, so we're cheating on Al right now. We're having a Star Trek discussion without him. So, and this is where our After Darks would ultimately end up going. Would be some geeked out Star Trek debate about something. So,
well, actually,
what swear word was used the only one time in the original series?
Damn.
What episode was it, and what was the swear word that was
it damn?
No.
Swear word was not damn.
Mm-mm.
Hell, piss.
Hell, yeah.
Hell.
Yep, it was the episode. I don't remember the episode name. I think it was The Guardian. It might have been called, because there was that.
Didn't Chekhov use a little swear word? We just couldn't really tell.
Maybe, yeah. But officially, it was an episode with what's her name? I can't remember her name now. But they go back in time.
Oh, the Guardian at the Edge of Forever.
The Guardian at the Edge of Forever. Correct. At the end, when they come back, Kirk says, "Let's get the hell out of here," because they almost completely McCoy went through the time portal and it changed history, and the Enterprise disappeared.
They almost really messed it up.
I vaguely remember that one.
Yeah, that was one written by famous science fiction author Harlan Ellison.
It was a good episode. It was a very good episode. It's one of the best.
Yeah.
What was that actress's name?
Elizabeth Taylor? No. Collins.
Yeah, Collins.
Yeah.
Joan
Collins, yes.
Yeah. She was in that episode.
I like the Corbomite maneuver, where they threatened to explode the Enterprise.
Yeah, and the person that played the alien child thing was Ron Howard's brother, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just saw that one the other day. He was like 7 years old when he did that part.
Wow.
But he was playing an adult.
Yeah.
And he had like adult lines and the way he delivered
you could
it.
tell it was kind of lip synced.
Yeah.
You know what I thought was interesting, and because when I rewatched them a few years ago, some of the earlier episodes they actually showed people getting married, and they actually had a chapel in the Enterprise. So I thought that was kind of neat, where they had thought about bringing religion and God into space and stuff, and making that part of everything.
And then they met him in person on
Star Trek 5. It came full circle,
Star
right?
Trek 5.
But that's something that sci-fi has not. Sci-fi typically gets more into the science and less into the religion aspect sometimes. But they did deal with a lot of things, kind of like the Twilight Zone did, where it was easier to talk about things.
Yeah, if you science fictionalized it, you could talk about things that were taboo to talk about.
So
otherwise.
remember they had the whole thing where the half black and half white, but I'm half black and half white, but he's half black and half white, and this is dealing with racism in a different way and stuff like that, So I thought they did try to
at that time that was the only way to get it past the censors too.
But the whole idea too, because in the 60s we segregation was still happening, and women's rights was not quite there yet, and we were in the Cold War, so to show that they had this whole diverse cast of Russian and Japanese and everything else, and that they predicted a future where we wouldn't be at war with each other and we wouldn't hate each other, and having the first interracial kiss on screen, and having not only a woman there but a woman of color. These were so progressive.
Who was also fourth in the line of command too, so they
they were so forward thinking that it could only have been portrayed in a science fiction setting. There's no way they could have said, okay, this is going to be like a Hill Street Blues police show with a black woman and an Asian man and a Russian whatever. There's just no way that that people would have bought that at that point in time, So
You know what? Dr. Martin Luther King forbid Nichelle Nichols from quitting the show because she was felt like her role was kind of small and she was going to move on after the first year, and he said, I absolutely forbid you from quitting that show, because he basically said, you're a bridge officer on a ship,
in a role model.
You're a role model,
absolutely.
right? In a world where most blacks are maids or, some kind of servant or some, no one with technical background and,
Right. Not just a token. Right?
He literally talked her out of quitting the show.
Wow. Yep.
And unfortunately, she was going to be in the area. A friend of mine was really good friends with Gene Roddenberry. It's an interesting story. He wanted to start a Star Trek group, but there's like 1 million of them around. So he wanted to get Gene Roddenberry's take on what he would like to see in a Star Trek group. And so he called him. He wound up getting his number, and he called him. His secretary said he was out of town and that he'll call back, when he gets back in town. And he's like, right, okay, whatever. And he hung up, and a week later, Gene Roddenberry's like, yeah, it's Gene Roddenberry. And they wound up becoming really good friends. And he's known Nichelle for like 35 years too, and he knew Gene's wife and everybody. He used to him and his wife used to meet him when they would come to Cleveland and stuff. They would meet, and they were really good friends. She was going to come by recently, but I guess it got canceled because of COVID.
You got the latest Cocoa Pie? I'm just seeing your picture on Facebook here, Ron. You got the new Cocoa Pie running?
Yep. Yep. No problems at all.
What are you running on? Pi 3, Pi 4?
3B.
Okay.
I got a fan on it, and I don't get any, the little electric thing or a heat thermometer thing.
Oh, you're talking, okay. Do you have the heat sinks on the chips and stuff too?
Yeah, and as long as there's that fan on there, it works perfectly.
Yeah, cool. I had to change out my power supply on my Pi 3 because when I had a few things plugged in to the USB ports, I was getting a low voltage message on the screen. So Ron Kleiner suggested I get like a 2.1 amp or something. Like I have the same adapter now that the Pi 4 uses on my Pi 3. I haven't tried it yet, but I got to reburn and record all my new videos this weekend, hopefully. So I'll be trying that out. It seems pretty good.
Paul's device on my CoCo Pi works great, Paul.
Oh, the keyboard adapter?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Have you seen the attract modes, Ron? Do you know that there's an attract mode in there that plays all your pictures and is like a slideshow? Isn't that cool?
And I took all of mine extra photos and stuff and dumped them in the same directory.
Okay.
And today I hit it on just to see if it would pick up on the new ones I put in.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
The thing though, it goes down to the small screen, which it's okay. You still see it. But I have it full screen, and then by the next time it loads another picture, it drops down.
Oh, okay. So that's something that
that's just part of the programming.
Yeah, and there's got to be a way to work on that. But yeah, I honestly, even though that you have the GUI, I really liked it the way it was before without the GUI. I like the old text menu. It kind of looked like DOS. Look, you're doing everything in MS-DOS.
You still have your old one. Just throw the chip in.
Yeah, no. Well, there's a way you can do it too. You can change one of the settings in the thing to tell it to not boot to a GUI mode.
Yeah, I tried that, but it every time you tried one of the CoCo emulators, at least on the first version that was out, it would give me a error about the Linux not having a graphical interface.
Oh, okay. So it must be compiled differently now then too.
I asked Ron about it, and he said, "Well, we're trying to make it so it works off the GUI."
Okay. Yeah, and there's pros and cons to that. Now, so one of the things that I did though too is I just lowered the resolution of the desktop. I went down to like 1024 by 768. That way everything is square and it makes everything bigger. And that way, even when it's running in a window, it's not a small window anymore. It's a bigger window. So when I lower the resolution, that seems to help out a little bit. Because I also found when you bring up the menu in that little terminal window, it's kind of hard to read the text in that menu because it was kind of small, So,
question for you guys that are fiddling with the Pi stuff here. Has anybody tried it on the Pi 400? Because that's a question I get on the Amigos Discord a ton.
And I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell you every time you've asked me that. It's been tested on the Pi 400 extensively by Ron Klein.
So Ron actually has one to try.
Yes, Ron has one. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
I don't have one, but yes, it has. The new image runs on everything, and Ron has tested it on everything. I can only test it on what I have, though. But
I let some of them know then, because I know they keep asking. They said when it's officially released, we'll get it.
It is officially released now, as of today. It was officially released today. It's on the site.
Okay.
There's
officially
the
official.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to test it out. I haven't had a chance to test it out yet.
Yeah, and I kind of feel about the Pi 400 how I feel about some of these other things. It's like, it's I'm going to be throwing more money at something I'm not going to use that much.
Yeah, right.
So, but it is neat. It's a neat little thing. I like my little Pi that I can tuck it away and I can use a wireless keyboard on it, so I'm not tethered. Like with that Pi 400 now, you can't be too far away from your screen. Your keyboard has to be hard tethered to the power and to the display, so your range of motion where you can move your keyboard around is very finite now. And that's the one part I don't like about it, but I do like the form factor. And I've got a Pi 3 and I've got a Pi 4 and I hardly ever use them, so for me to spend another $100 on a Pi 400 that I'm hardly ever going to use, I kind of have a hard time doing that with. So
I wasn't implying to buy one. I just wanted to make sure that some people try it.
But Paul has one, and I've been on the fence with getting one because, like a lot of things, like I don't need it. I'm hardly ever going to use it, but would I still think it's cool and have a little bit of fun with it? Yes. These are my internal monologues I have all the time. Things I don't need, but I'll probably end up buying anyways.
That could be a whole segment.
That could be. And what are you working on there, Jason? I noticed you've been working on stuff and your screen's been going out of phase and
going out of phase. Just building some switcheroos. The product that keeps on going.
Yeah.
Good. Ron, you mentioned the keyboard adapter.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of talk about it on the mailing list a week or so ago when I was out on vacation. Christopher Hawks reached out to me. I never built in any OS 9 specific keystroke support for it. And a few folks noticed that. So I didn't even think about it at the time. Ron Klein had actually tested it, and he suggested a couple of the custom keystrokes, but there's a full range of custom keystrokes with the control key and whatnot that people have been looking to use. So looking to do an update to that soon. Chris Hawks was great for providing some of the technical details on that. So
yeah, because he did that for his keyboard interface too. Yeah.
So yeah, he was great for providing that feedback. So yeah, I'll be pushing a firmware update at some point.
Yeah, I probably won't do it because I'm a GUI user and I rarely do anything with the line commands, you know.
So if somebody has the old version, they can upgrade it?
Yeah, it's just you can just take you just need
stuff.
Yeah, the Android. Well, you don't need to buy anything. You just grab the Android IDE for free, and you download the code from GitHub, and you just basically upload it to the Pi over the USB or the Arduino over the USB cable.
From your Android phone?
No, from a computer.
From a PC?
Oh, a PC. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Did I say Android? I meant Arduino. Sorry.
Arduino. Okay, yeah, I said Android, so yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you get some type of Arduino software on your PC. You plug that into your doohickey with the
it's
USB cable.
The Arduino IDE that you download to your PC.
Okay, which is
or Mac or whatever.
Right.
And
Okay.
you just basically compile it and then upload it over the USB cable.
And so that's like
easy to follow steps.
that's like a modern version of like a JTAG type thing when you're just doing it over USB.
Yeah, similar. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Will there be a future video?
Maybe. Yeah, actually, truthfully, I haven't really done anything retro computer related. I mean, the summer's been so busy. The last thing I did was that sound card that I've been working on for the 6800 system, where I paralleled what Simon and I had been working on for the 6809 4-voice player. And that's the last thing that I've really touched.
You've been busy growing your beard. That's a full-time job, man.
Exactly. It's not easy looking this good, you know?
Good times.
Just grow one, Steve.
They get itchy. I try growing them and they get itchy.
You have to get
you get past it.
I can't.
It only lasts for a
Yes,
few
you
weeks.
can. You can do it.
Yeah, basically after Christmas, I'm like, I'm done shaving. I'm not
Don't
going
be a
into
girl
work.
about it. Just let it go.
Be a girl about it.
Jeez. I can't do that. I can't stay awake for a CoCo show.
That's
I know.
right. Listen. Oh shit! Here's Brian Weezer. There goes the party.
Everybody
He decided to get an early start on his acquisitions.
Yeah.
If he starts his acquisition now, he'll be done by the time he's a guest special
Yeah. Right.
in 3 weeks.
And he's gone. Oh, there he is.
There it is.
Brian Weezer. He's connecting to audio.
Connecting the audio. Does he really want to hear this?
Brian, is your store open yet? Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Brian, do you copy?
Does he even know he's on the call?
There's been some sidebar discussions about Star Trek Continues in the live chat too, which I have seen some of, but not all of, the Star Trek Continues series on YouTube. That's good stuff. Brian, do you hear us?
Yes, I do.
Now you do, yes. And we hear you now too.
Yeah, I just did a little audio test before I joined, so.
When is your store open?
When's the store open?
Yeah, your Radio Shack. You have a sign, right?
Do I have a sign? I don't have a Radio Shack sign, actually. No, I don't.
I thought for sure you bought one.
No, I've kept my eyes. I've seen them before, but I don't have room for a 25-foot long 3-foot high tide
You can
sign.
get rid of all that CoCo crap behind you there. You'd have plenty of room.
Oh, did you make a Radio Shack sign?
Yeah, I
Small
did.
one?
Yeah.
Looked awesome.
I had a bunch of spare parts that I got for like one of the Radio Shacks close by me. They were selling like all their inventory, the little parts and stuff for like 5 cents. So I grabbed a bunch of them thinking I'd use them at some point, and I never did. So I put a little Radio Shack corner in my workshop with a little 3D printed Radio Shack sign I did.
It looked great. You need to sell them one.
Yeah,
I put the sign up on Thingiverse, so anybody that wants to grab it and download it, and print it themselves, they can.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You got a printer?
Me?
Brian? No, Brian.
Oh, Brian.
No, I don't. No 3D printer. I thought about getting one, but I don't know how much I'd actually print to justify it.
And after watching all the trouble Rick Adams went through with his, I don't know if I'd want one.
Gee.
Did he end up selling that?
I don't even know.
I thought I saw a post where he's looking. Yeah, I thought I saw a post where he was looking to see if anybody wanted to buy it or something. So,
what did he buy it used or?
I think he bought it new.
No, he bought it brand new, and he had nothing but problems for a while. Though I think he was starting to work them out at the end with a lot of help.
Yeah, once you made the channel, it all died off.
Did he make a please help Rick Adams on Discord channel?
You made a 3D printing channel.
Okay.
I wonder if we need to have Ron Inman come in and do another purge.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Speaking
Yeah.
of channels, we definitely have way too many channels in Discord. I can tell you that much.
Oh, we finally got the channel.
And complain about channel.
Hey, I'm looking for somebody with a CoCo 2 to test some software tonight. Anybody available?
Anybody have some hardware ready to test? Anyone?
Yeah, Squanchy Basic is ready to leave the nest and see what's going on.
I think Brian Weezer's got a CoCo 2 behind him there somewhere in that pile.
I may.
Which specific submodel do you want him to try it on?
That's a good question.
All of them?
Yeah, just any CoCo 2 or CoCo 1 with 64K.
Is this
Anybody?
a
Anybody?
basic interpreter or something, or what is it?
It's a scrunched up basic interpreter up into high RAM so that you get a lot of free memory.
That leaves me out.
Why?
I would, but
I don't know anything about that stuff.
Well, if you run it, you type CLS. If it works, I'm good to go. Come on.
Oh, is that all you want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe try running some old color basic programs if you got any kicking around.
I have the T1 CoCo 2 set up and CoCo 1 set up.
I'm gonna DM you a disk image. You can try it with your STC.
Like the first thing you should try, Ron, if it boots up okay with you, is try doing a print mem.
Yeah, that's fun.
What's the file? Is it a disk file? DSK?
It'll be a DSK.
All right.
What's your handle on Discord?
I think it's Ron Delvaux.
Hey, Maiden Ariana is out there. Hey, Maiden.
It was Epic Beard 57.
Oh, what is it?
Having trouble finding you.
Hey Tim, does this look familiar?
Oh, the acrylic case. I got one of those.
Yeah. I was digging through that lot of stuff, and I came across the case.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to go soon.
Yeah, me too. I still haven't
It's
got
way
yet.
past my bedtime at this point.
Ron Delvaux 6879 is my number.
I got you.
You missed 6809 by 1 digit, Ron.
I know.
You're telling me.
Yep. 68.
You need to get that changed.
That's got to be a picture from a long time ago, Ron.
What picture is that?
The one
Oh,
that
for
shows
me?
up in...
Oh, yeah, sure.
Is it as old as where Pop Fiscarelli didn't have facial hair?
No, I had it. When I got married, I didn't. Well, I had a mustache. That's it. Then I grew up.
Upload failed. Why?
Are you on Facebook? Just send it to my messenger. It's easy.
You're right.
I got all the parts ordered for Aaron's 8 RGB to HDMI.
Oh.
There was a little confusion in the instructions there. When you read the GitHub, it talks about it references 2 chips, U1 and U2, and if you're going to hook this up to a CoCo 3, you have to add another comparator chip to the backside of the analog board, and it says it needs to be the same as U1 and U2. The problem is that U7 is a 14 pin chip, and U1 and U2 are only 8. So it's like, how's this going to work? So I've been messaging him back and forth, and he reached out to the who's the guy that did that thing? Ian, however name's pronounced, and they got me back
from
on
Australia.
track. Yeah, whoever did the
Maverick?
original. Yeah,
No.
there we go. Was it? No, wasn't the guy over
this
the
is
UK?
the RGB board. This is
RGB of Aaron with the retro hat shack.
Tim, are we friends on Facebook? Tim?
No, I don't friend people on Facebook.
Okay, so how are you going to send it to me?
Discord.
You don't have to be friends.
Okay.
Yeah, Tim always just clicks the enemies button. So.
Alrighty.
So yeah, so I got all the parts ordered. Should have everything next week and get it assembled and fire it up.
Cool beans. All right, well, I'm going to have to press the button here soon. I don't know if Mark B, if you want to pick up phase 2 of this stream, but this was a test that has been going on for 2.5 hours.
Apparently been working.
Yes.
I need to go to bed. It's 10 o'clock.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that we were able to test, and we ended up talking about all kinds of crap, which is always good too. So,
first after dark we've had in a while.
Yeah, Jason, you still want me to call you? I can call you as soon as we hang up.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right, I'll do that. All right, guys. Thank you all for the test. Paul, good to see you. Ron,
good to talk to you guys.
Good to meet your beard, Paul.
John Lowry, good to see you. L. Curtis Boyle, Jason the Coco Man, Ron Delvaux, Tim Lindner, Mark Bosley, Brian Weezer,
Hey,
Paul
Tim,
Fiscarelli.
how do I get back to you about how it went?
I just messaged you on Facebook, so message me back.
Okay. All right.
We'll continue this on Facebook.
All right. Bye.
All right, guys. Good night, everybody. Thanks for
See you tomorrow.
watching. Jeremy Landry and Michael Pitsley and Maiden Ariana, Jeremy Landry and Sloopy Malibu and Scott Cooper and Ron Delvaux, Kevin Holloway, and all kinds of people out there. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you all tomorrow for the real show. Bye-bye.
Bye.